Good evening, welcome to Poker Night Live, where you can watch and indeed play live internet poker on the TV. Moreover, it being a fully interactive show, you can put your poker questions to our panel of experts in the studio. That's me and Tikay, in case you were wondering. Here are the numbers for getting in touch with us here in the studio right through until 2 o'clock. You can text us here by texting poker and your question to 84222, 4 texts for £1. Or you can email us at this address, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Well, it's me and Tikay in the studio tonight, so Tikay, would you kick proceedings off by taking us around the tables?
Be my delight, Tom. How are you this evening?
I'm very well, how are you?
Oh, I'm very impressed with your haircut.
Well, thank you.
Let's begin with the 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. Excuse me. We should be going backwards and forwards all evening to the cash games. We're hoping to get some bigger ones a bit later on. And we shall have a $10 sit and go, which is currently in level 1, 10.20. That's just begun. We'll be seeing the highlight of that. As you can see, fishing for chips, Shaky Shark, Buffy Be Good, lots of regulars there, Daz. We'll also be looking at the $5 sit and go, which is also in level 1. And PUFC Boy, a regular forum poster on Poker Night Live forum, is there. That's in the very early stages. And tonight's MTT is a 64 runner affair, $10. And they've just begun, and we pick it up with Gaza has got the aces, and Chelsea has got the queens. I wonder if Chelsea can get off this.
No, it's going to be 8-10, TK for sure.
It's going to be what?
It's going to be 8-10.
You think so?
I think so. Just a quick reminder here, we are concentrating on cash games tonight between the hours of 11 and 12, when TK will be fighting it out with the Beat the Presenter heavies. So, if you want your cash game commentated on, then get yourself down to the cash tables. We'll be looking at 2-4, 5-10, 25-50, whatever fills up. So get yourself down there, and remember, between 11 and 12, we will be concentrating on cash games. But in the meantime, let's get ourselves back down to that $10 little tournament. Here it is. You did say this was $10, didn't you, TK?
I certainly did, but I believe this is the sit and go.
Oh, yes.
If I'm not mistaken. Where we have some of our regulars. Poor Buffy Be Goods had an accident early doors and donated most of the chips to Shaky Shark.
But I thought it was easier if you're on the left of your opponent, TK. How can this be? Surely Buffy should have given his chips to Fishing for Chips.
They have this theory, I believe, I'm sure you know all about this, that the chips rotate around the table to the left. Is that right?
Yeah, well, the idea is people on the left have an advantage over people on the right. But then again, there's a case for saying that the button nicks the blinds, in which case the chips are going the other way around.
Well, the circle is squared anyway, because they eventually come back to where they started, so...
Yeah.
But you'd rather have a good player on your right than on your left.
I'd always rather have a good player on my right than my left.
Yeah, because you get to see their action before you act.
That's right.
And being a good player, they like to be aggressive, and you can pick them off with monsters if you happen to be dealt, I don't know, ace-4 or something. You're in there like a shot.
Ace-4, yes, indeed, amongst another host of hands that only true poker geniuses can play.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to call you ace-4 from now on. I defended you stoutly on the forum, I hope you noticed.
The thing with ace-4, TK, is you must always get your chips in when you're 4-1 favourite on the turn. That is the crucial.
What about before the flop? Is that relevant?
Well, I'm looking forward to the turn, TK.
Oh, I see. You was always playing for the turn.
For amateurs.
Not the flop or the river.
No, the turn.
Right, okay. In case the dealer had a heart attack before the river, you could claim the pot. So, nice and gentle, early stages of this. Routine still by Cloud. Clouded, is it? Cool Dude with ace-9. Some people call that a genuine hand. And Leibdorf has the king-jack on the button, which is a genuine stealing hand and position.
It's a funny sort of term that. I know what you mean, TK, but a genuine stealing hand would confuse some people, wouldn't it? They'd say, well, you've got a genuine hand or you're stealing. Which is it?
It's a genuine stealing hand.
It's
legit, I'd say. Everybody's got a little bit of something here. If it's not too big a call, you'd like to call with Jack Queen, you'd like to call with 9-8, suited. You'd like to call with King Jack. Not sure about the deuces,
Oh.
but the deuces are ahead. Were ahead pre-flop, and against 4 opponents remain ahead.
Extraordinary.
What are the odds of that? Just imagine if you had ace-4 here. You'd be a monster, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a very vulgar way to play it, if I'm not make trips. And unfortunately, deuces, I think we'll have to let it go, believing it's up against a higher pocket pair.
Well, Shaky Shark has some nerve, it has to be said.
But what kind of nerve? If he's ahead, he should raise.
Well, he doesn't think anybody's got a 4 or 5. It's slightly different now.
Oh dear.
Well, his pair has disappeared. For those that at the beginning of their poker experience, I have to explain, Shaky Shark, his hand is been counterfeited completely. What we saw there was 5-5, 4-4, 10, and he had a pair of 2s, so his 2s did not exist. His best hand was 2 4s and 2 5s with a 10 kicker, which was the board. So that was a trifle unlucky, to be fair.
I hate the call though, TK on the flop.
Well, I think he should shove some more in to see where he is, see what he's against, or get out. But he's got 4,000 chips, and the rest are all struggling along in his wake. But he was leading. He was never at any stage behind until the second pair paired, and then he had no hand.
But you have to say, in the cold light of analysis, that if he didn't know he was leading, he had no business being in the pot. If he thought he might be leading, he had to raise it. And if he's going to call it, then he's against 2 opponents, almost certainly not going to be leading on the turn.
Oh, he's got ace-4 here.
Ah. Let's have a look. Well, he's
and he is front with it.
made a delicate pair.
Well, it looks a very weak pair, but the truth is it's middle pair, even though it's only a 4.
Yeah, you should ask himself, have I got any evidence that there's a pocket pair higher than 4s out there, given what the betting was like pre-flop? And he decides that there isn't, and raises it up. Well done.
And up to nearly 6,000. And we are 1, 2, 3-handed already. Blinds have accelerated at a great rate of acceleration to 163.20. I think we may have missed a little bit somewhere.
And why do you think, I mean, it's strange that he played that perfectly reasonably and correctly and raised it when he thought he might be ahead, but he played basically the same sized pair with the deuces, but he chose to just call it.
Well, you know, we all play hands different, don't we? We all played it the same, it would be a difficult game, to be honest with you. And I hear what you say about his 2s. You know, conventional wisdom, the books which some people like to read would say, well, he has to raise or pass. But to be honest with you, he doesn't expect anybody to have anything of 4-4-5. And as you suggested, the pre-flop betting said, well, there's no overpair out there. But many of us, to be fair, would have preferred to see him find out where he was with a little raise.
Yeah, I mean,
he just called it down all the way, essentially.
If they haven't got the 2 opponents both got overcards, they haven't got the same overcards, they've got 12 outs. 12 cards between them in the deck will help them.
It was quite remarkable to see that he was against 4 opponents, and he was ahead pre-flop, and he was ahead on the... In fact, he was ahead right through the hand, until his hand was counterfeited. Some sort of justice somewhere, I suppose. So down to 3 in this. We have, as we said, we've accelerated through a little bit to get you to the sexy bit. And Shaky's in the lead again. Leadorf makes a little punt at this, I think. Or is he going to be a believer?
It's a sort of flop I'd be inclined to believe my opponent on, I must say.
Well, you tend to put, when people are in the hand, you tend to think they've got some sort of paint. And there's 2 bits of paint there, so, yeah.
And you mean the king and the queen there? Which would be painted if these were standard playing cards. And Shaky Shark has read this one perfectly. Very nice. And Leadoff can't continue. Unless he goes all in which case Shaky probably has to fold. But
yep.
It
would be a brave move though, wouldn't it?
No.
He does the wise thing and says we can find a better situation to get our money in. They all started with 2,000 chips. There's 3 left, so the average is 3,300, and the blinds are 163.20. So they've actually still got 10 big blinds average. So they don't need to shove all their chips in yet a while. Still plenty of play in this. I went to a competition the weekend, which the second day began with everybody had 36,000 chips, and the blinds were 100, 200 on a 45-minute clock. That's 180 big blinds. How about that? I could sit there for a fortnight with that.
And where was it?
It was in Bolton, unfortunately.
Could you sit in Bolton for a fortnight?
Oh, no. I don't think so. The people were wonderful, but wow, what a town. Goodness me. I'm sure it must have something nice about it.
So Liedorf there, fortunately checking the flop, bringing the turn card, which gave him that wonderful hand, and he takes a big bite out of the shark.
This is quite reasonable for Shark to move in here with its ace-10. Wow, what a draw. He doesn't want to catch his ace now.
Nope.
Because that will give Liedorf the straight, but it was a perfectly respectable move, in my opinion. And he's doubled up.
And poor old Dazzy thinking, well, I'll let one of these two knock the other one out, but now they've just got themselves back in it, and he's going to have to make a stand himself. Not with 2-5, I don't think.
He might get called here. Three-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, Liedorf doesn't want to hit his jack here. Misses it completely, and good night, shaky. You shall shark no more. And so it's a rather unequal contest between Liedorf with 13,500 and Dazzy B with 1,500. Dazzy B needs to move all in 2 or 3 times and get lucky.
Only Mares are moving now, because he'll probably get caught.
This is the hand, and that's his first double up, I suspect. Unless a spade comes, or a 6. There it is, so that's the first double up.
Just need a couple more.
One more would be chip leader. And ace-4.
Dominated, Tikay.
This is the Sambrook. Now, can he call this? He does, and he catches the 7. That is good night nurse, I'm afraid.
Unless...
Oh, not a spade.
Oh.
Wow!
Dazzy takes it down. That's the second double through.
It's a game of great skill, this. Ace-4 wins a hand. So now he can play different. Now he has the chip lead. Now he can pick and choose when he chooses to chuck them all in. Blinds are still 326.40. Liedorf isn't quite sure what to do here. If you don't feel confident in making up the small blind when the blinds are this size relative to your stack, then get rid of it. There's no point limping for the sake of it. The guy behind is going to raise you. Can you call the raise? No? Or just pass it and save the small blind. Do that 2 hands in a row, 3 hands in a row. Next time you call or raise, he respects you. I just don't see the point in wasting your chips. Well, nobody's got a great deal of this.
Well, check from Liedorf. He must think he's probably ahead, but not far ahead enough to get called by a worse hand. And hoping Dazzy wouldn't bet at him and put him to the test. He might feel he'd have to call, but rather unwillingly. So
if they had a few more chips each, they'd be dead level. And Dazzy B's made a nice comeback from 1,200 right up to 7,500 now. Liedorf is proving quite passive here.
Tight or passive?
Passive, I'd have said. I wouldn't argue with your description, but I think we might see action here.
Difficult to call, actually. I fold there, TK, because I think it's a pocket pair or an ace.
Because he's got some, you think you've got him on some sort of ace.
An ace or a pocket pair, I think.
Yeah, and as it happens, the king hits, and that's pretty well crippled Dazzy B. But the problem I find with making that call with king-queen is that two-handed, the guy could make a move in with any sort of ace, and then you've got a hit.
Yeah, it's the size of the bet relative to the blinds. Normally it's pretty easy to call with king-queen, but on that one I'm fairly confident what I'm up against.
So Dazzy B refuses to die, and he's 5-3. He's dominated 5-3.
It's good.
Has managed to beat ace-3. So he won't lay it down, but I think he's going to chuck it in here, or he's going to have to get lucky. No! We're certainly going to check it in this time, but will Leedorf summon up the courage to call? I actually don't think that's a bad play to let go there. Now all the chips go in for sure. And Dazzy B is going to double up again, unless a 5 appears. It just shows you should never give up, doesn't it? This guy's been down to the felt, back up, down to the felt. Oh, he's hit his 6.
3 straight though for Leedorf? Nah.
No, so we're back in the double up territory, up to nearly 6,000.
Full house.
This is a typical first to bet situation here. Or first to pass. And once again we see Leedorf this time has the 6s, had the 5s last time. And I think even as he raises, I think Leedorf will call.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that hand can go either way. I think you can push with that hand, but you can also let it go. It's sort of a bit marginal. Of course, with 2,000 in the middle, that's a tremendous boon if Leedorf does fold, but Queen 8 doesn't play terribly well against a call.
Well, he's moved in, Leedorf has called, and Dazzy B looks like, once again, doubling up. Now has 12,800 and Leedorf is down to 3-2. This guy just refuses to die. Go on, Dazzy V.
And this is it for Leedorf. He will certainly want to move. Oh dear. Want to move anything apart from 3-2, but he gets a walk. Fantastic.
Wow.
Now what? He hasn't got enough chips to make Dazzy put any hand down here, let alone ace king. He might have to fold.
You can just about fold here with this hand, you know.
Well, he's conscious of the fact that he got a walk on the previous hand,
Yep.
and that might just possibly repeat itself.
Well, he's as old as his 2-6 and ended up with 2-9.
Yeah, it's clearly a call though. Dazzy obviously should bet here. He's probably ahead, and he'll almost certainly get called by a worse hand.
You say he's probably ahead because it's two-handed and King 5 is better than an average or random hand, yeah?
Yes. Well, that does look like it's going to be it, barring a 9, no 9, so 3 queens on the board.
Well done, Dazzy B. That's persistence rewarded there.
He was hanging around, wasn't he, in the 3-handed stage, where it was Leedorf and Shaky Shark giving it some to each other, and he just somehow managed to get a couple of crucial double throughs.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, you're bringing a tear to TK's eye.
I'm really pleased about that. No, me taking the mickey. How's your how's your
What?
you bought a ship last week, didn't you?
A small boat, yes.
A small boat. How is it?
I haven't collected it yet. It's in Bromsgrove.
It came with all the bits, did it?
No, there were no bits attached to it. I've got to buy the bits separately.
You didn't have a stick thing?
No, there was no stick.
Goodness me.
I've had to get
But
my
it was
own
cheap.
stick. It was quite cheap. Yeah. It's not a yacht, in case you're wondering. How's your train expedition in Glossop? Exciting?
I haven't been to Glossop yet. I had a very, very fascinating train journey to and from Bolton, which I can take you through later if you wish.
Okay, maybe in the break, when I'm on the toilet and the viewers are watching something else. We've got an email here from Sark79. He says, "Hi guys, I was wondering if you could both share any thoughts over the best way to spot tells while playing online. A very helpful Monkey member of the Blonde forum helped me with this aspect of my game a couple of months ago, but I was wondering if you have any tips to share. I know about obvious things, such as not using the action boxes at the bottom of the screen. Instead, I generally count to 5 before making my decision over calling, raising or checking. Any help you could give would be much appreciated. Also, are there specific tells related to different kinds of poker? For example, I now only play ring games. Do online tells change when playing multi-table tourney or ring games? Or are they all banded together under the same category? Many thanks for your help and time. I appreciate it." TK, any thoughts on online tells?
He says that a Monkey member raised this a while back.
Yes, he does say that.
He doesn't point out that he's a penguin, does he?
He doesn't point that out, no.
No.
Sorry, did you have some funny homocitas in your tea on the way in?
This is true. He's a penguin. He lives in Kilmarnock, which is in Scotland.
Right.
And very interesting penguin, I must say. Good question. my good friend Sark. Tells online. I think the one that you've picked up on is something that people do forget. You've described it as not using the action boxes at the bottom of the screen. This is when you pre-select your action. You're going to check. If you're on the big blind and you pre-select check or fold, if it's folded to you and the guy next to you notices that the minute he makes up the small blind you have auto-checked, he knows straight away you have no sort of hand. And I think you can give quite a lot away by using those boxes. I mean, you can use it in reverse, but I don't think it's wise to use them. You, Tom?
No, absolutely. I never use the check or fold box. I'll use the fold box because it doesn't give any information away because I'm going to fold, obviously. But I absolutely avoid using them. One particularly important thing to do, in my opinion, which is often not appreciated in sit and go strategy, is that if you've been playing a tight sort of game and counting on your table image getting you through the stealing phase, i.e. building up a nice good stealing image, and you pick up a hand, say you're on the button, and you think, oh, I'm going to nick with this, and hitherto you've been just pressing the automatic fold button because you're doing something else, and then say someone in the cutoff, or just before the cutoff, say someone in mid-position steals in front of you or puts in a bet in front of you, it's crucial then to very quickly try and click the automatic fold box, because if your opponents are paying attention and they see that there is a small delay between you folding compared to what you've been doing before, they'll know that you've decided now to start stealing. They'll know that your hand isn't good enough to raise with, because otherwise you would have just put in an automatic fold in the action box. And they'll know that the reason why you're not raising is that someone before you has come into the pot. So they'll know that you're no longer hand value based, and you are now basing your raising decisions on your ability to nick the pot. So it's very important to quickly check that action box if you have been doing that hitherto in the tournament.
Well, you got me there. That was a wonderful explanation for Sark. I hope you enjoyed that. And I should tell you that young Sark is, he tells the odd porcupine, you know.
Does he?
Yeah, he claimed today to have brought a set of spanners in Aldi for 99p.
That sounds possible from what I know about Aldi.
No, there'd be a lot less, wouldn't there? I mean,
OK, thank you very much, Sark.
Thank you, Sark, from Kilmarnock.
Let's get ourselves down to the MTT.
Ooh, this feedback.
So here it is. We've got ourselves fairly modest entries, 64 runners, 48 left. 12-minute clock, $640 in prize money. And, well, dominated king there for Davey, but he does have the up and the down draw. Feckless with a far from feckless hand. And river changes nothing. Gives them both trips, but the ace kicker for feckless will take it down. 15.45. Does he bet it for value, TK? Do you?
I do bet it for value.
Difficult for a king to fold, isn't it? That's one
Yep.
thing you should think about. And there it is.
He gets him. And a fascinating piece of trivia, a factoid for you. In this table, in this MTT, we have the chip leader, which is our friend that sat up there in the northwest corner. Core, is that? Core. Yeah, must be a young man or young lady. And we have the Billy Lowstack, who's sat next to him in seat 1. Buffy be good. So there's the low stack and the high stack sat holding hands.
Ah.
And if you're the low stack, not the worst place to sit, to be honest with you. Because you move your chips in any sort of hand. Chances are the high stack's going to call you if you're in the blinds. And when you're low stack and you've got half a hand, you want a call. Because otherwise you're going to find yourself in trouble again next orbit.
Plus, also, if you're forced down and down with a chip stack and you get to a point where you really are desperately low, and you wouldn't mind a fold around the table, if you're to the right of the big stack, it means that when you put in your bet, all the other players between you and the big stack have got to worry about the big stack coming in if they choose to enter the pot. So that might tip them into folding. So if they'll fold and then the big stack looks down at his cards and finds that they're absolute junk, you may well find it's completely folded. And that may be what you want if you've got very low indeed. But it doesn't have to panic. Buffy be good, or she. Because, oh, well, the blinds have just gone up, so now she does have to start panicking. Take it back. Sorry. Panic, 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 Buffy.
Well, it's one of those situations when you're very low stacked, you just hope you can pick up some sort of hand in the blinds, and that couldn't have been much worse to be true. That was 3-4. And you could sometimes catch an eccentric flop, but that wasn't. So not much to be done there. And now he has the difficult situation of saying, shall I make a move or shall I pass? What I don't think he should do in his spot is make the small blind up.
No, not unless he thinks he's very good at bluffing people off flops by working out that they haven't hit.
And he lets go, and I think probably wisely. Having said that, if he'd moved in, it's not that easy for the guy to his left to call. So Hooch Tunes with the ace-10, a hand I really struggle with, has made a pot-sized bet, and it's enough to steal the blinds. Don't forget, get on those cash tables and we'll be along to see you a little later on.
Well, 10-jack in mid-position.
I quite like that.
And what are you going to do with it? Raise it or call it?
Well, I have a problem of limping with these sort of hands, and you know, you can burn chips if you limp all night. I think probably the best thing to do, although it's not what I do, the best thing to do is to raise. Put a little raise in, see where you are.
And then make a continuation bet if the flop doesn't look too scary, assuming you haven't caught. Well, a pair of fours for the dodge. I think he can afford to let that go, and there you go. You're absolutely right. TK 10-jack can be made a winner, but it didn't do himself any great favours by limping pre-flop, especially not with that board. Limp again. The more times you limp, the more likely you are to be raised.
So, Hooch Tunes has got the Cowboys in the big blind, and Feckless has just limped with the sevens again, which in this case, we said last time, perhaps you shouldn't limp, perhaps you should raise, but in this time, this occasion, it's probably going to save him chips. Unless he thinks the big blind's stealing. Oh my goodness.
That's a loose call.
Well.
He's not getting the implied odds to call that.
Now, well, to make Tom's point here, if Feckless with the sevens had raised before the flop, what he'd done was to seek information. A, to get the rubbish out, but B, he finds out where he is. If he'd have raised with those pair of sevens, let's say he made it 200, pot size raise, or a little less, 150, it's likely that Hooch Tunes with the kings would have re-raised. Now what are you going to do with your pair of sevens? Chances are you let go of them. He's now got 1,500 invested in this pot, and he's dead as a dead thing. And I think that could have been saved by raising instead of limping, because he would have known straight away he had a problem. Whereas when it got round to the big blind and the big blind raised, it was his view that the big blind was just trying to get limpers out.
Not much of a hand ace-8 to limp with. It's true that under the gun limps are likely to be aces, but still.
Well, everybody's got a little bit here. Bottom pair, flush draw, top pair, and a pair of nines.
I'll probably take the flush draw with that lot for at least for feeling happy about where I was. None of those hands, apart from the flush draw, were really particularly secure. Well, the reason why we're back in Vision is we're going to take you straight down to our 1-2 game. And here they are, $100
beg your pardon, $200, I should say, is the maximum sit down here, 100 times the big blind. We don't know what they sat down with. It's a cash game. They could have sat down with X, Y, Z and pulled up.
It's probable their maximum was 200, yes?
200 is the maximum they could have, but we often see some people sitting down with a running Lee maybe, sat down with 52.
And we have Poker Night Live season ticket holder, Johan Harum there.
Hello. There's a bit of
Wow, it was a nice flush there for Innocent.
nut flush for Innocent on the river. And up against nothing. So barring a rather audacious raise from
I think
Jocko.
that bet on the end is a begs. It shouts out from the rooftops. Call me, I think.
Still, people often do, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there was only 16 into a 58 pot. I have the odds to call. Yes, but you have no hand. But they still call because they have the odds. I think sometimes you have to be a bit careful when interpreting odds.
Yeah, it's all relative, isn't it?
Yep.
To the odds of you being a winner.
You may have the odds to call, but there's two questions. Do you have the hand to call? But 16 into a 58 pot was enough to get a call.
Now, as Jack going to play his tens, latish position, probably a raise has got to be made here if he's going to hold his head up high.
Jack's got tens.
And 8, maybe, 7. Putting 7 probably here. I'm not going to get too attached to this hand, but I can't really live with myself if I don't raise one off the cut-off with tens. But I don't mind admitting that I'm more than happy to see folds. Well, Innocent with the 10-8 suited is the only plausible hand here for a bet, not that it's much cop, which is why you need to bet it, not call with it. Probably not going to win if it goes to a showdown. And let's see if he feels likewise. No, he's looking to make that long shot flush or straight and get paid royally. Well, unfortunately, he wants a volume pot there. And when it's folded round to you with a hand like that, I think you should be inclined to raise with it. If it's called round to you, then that's a completely different thing. You've got your volume pot, which is what you want if you're going to play it to make it into a winner, a hand that will win at a showdown. But I think when everyone's folded round to you, if you just call, then that's unwise, because if you only get one player left in the pot against you, probably ahead of you, and they may not pay you if you do make your hand.
Yeah, you did suggest, if I may say so, Tom, there, that he was looking to catch his flush. That the fact is, when he's got involved with 8-10, really he's not looking. It'd be nice if he called a flush or a straight draw, but really he's looking to take someone off a hand, isn't he?
Well, why didn't he bet before the flop?
Well, I'm coming to that.
Okay.
I haven't thought of that yet. I'm only on chapter 1.
Okay. Tikay's book will be coming out some point in the next 20 years. And again, Ace-Jack, a limp. Well, I guess Innocent is coming. That changes the equation somewhat, because he's going to have to invest a reasonably large amount of money with a steal to push Innocent off it. Innocent, of course, we know more likely to call, because he's already expressed some interest in the pot. Well, that's about the best flop Craven could expect there. He'd rather hit the jack than the ace, I think.
Yep, you're really better off with these situations with what I personally consider a weak ace or a medium ace. I believe you're better off catching the undercard in most cases. Well, he's a bit of a monster now. Unless a queen comes.
Or an 8.
Or an 8.
The old double belly buster. Double inside straight draw. And, well, Innocent will be counting his outs, same as an inside straight draw. A bit more deception on your side when you're drawing to a double belly buster like that.
But makes a correct pot odds decision for my money there, because if the straight card came, it was possible Craven could see it and Innocent would get paid.
The odds were not the same as an inside straight draw, were they?
Up and down draw.
An up and down draw. I thought you said an inside straight draw.
I may have said that, TK. Thank you for picking me up. No, the same as an up and down draw.
Yeah, it's if you've got a double belly buster, it's just count in mathematical terms. Call it an up and down.
Mm. Miss. And a complete absence of draws for anyone. 5 in the pot. Yeah, I like that bet. It's going to work about half the time, I'd say, at least. And if it works half the time, he's quids in, because each time it works, he wins 5, and each time it doesn't work, he loses 3. And that is basically the way you play winning poker. Well, that's not quite true. You play winning poker by a whole combination of different poker skills, but the outcome you're looking for is not to win every pot brilliantly, but to make sure that you tend to win 5 and lose 3 on the pots that you win and lose. And I've ceased to be surprised, TK. I don't know about you, but talking to non-poker players about the question of playing professional poker, and I've ceased to be surprised at how often they're surprised that I don't win every time. And
you don't win every time?
Yes, that I'm a pretty poor sort of poker player if I can't.
Yeah, when you talk, they say, "How did you get on?" And you say, "Oh, I went out," and they say, "Oh dear, that's not very good." It's very hard to explain to non-players that you're rubbish. No, it's a different sort of sport. It's not like motor racing. You see the same guy winning every week, or MotoGP, as they call it these days. Many sports are dominated, but the very, very greatest poker players in tournament poker do not win tournaments week after week. They don't even get to finals week, unless their name is Wernick. He doesn't do a bad impression. Craven's got a nice hand here, but Innocent's got a flush draw and a straight draw and catches the flush. How brave can you be with a 3 flush, Tom?
Well, when there's a pair on the board, I think it's right just to call there. Of course, once the board is paired, if you're holding a flush, you know you can't have the nuts. Any paired board signifies a possible full house, or indeed quads. It's not necessarily a reason to shut up shop completely, but Innocent decided there against that big bet from Craven, a call would be quite sufficient. And there is a full house. Lee's got it. Haffy's drawing to it. Lee's is always going to be good. All right, he's got 2 full houses at the same time.
I think he has about 8 full houses there, if you actually do the maths, but it only counts as 1.
Haffy with 3 lots of pairs. Well, yeah, I think I'd probably fold that if it was unsuited and call it if it was suited. One of the few occasions where... Oh, hello. Hello, Dolly. Well, on that occasion, it's not the suits that are important for Craven. He's flopped the nuts.
What a beautiful flop.
Oh,
now Innocent's caught 2 pairs. This could get unpleasant.
One of the 10s is dead. And it's the same 2 were in the pot a minute ago. Craven's going to get some of his chips back. 35 in the middle here. Yeah, Innocence calls again. And that's pretty much all the chips he just won gone straight back to Craven. Funny old game, isn't it? Guess who's winning? The house with the rake.
Johan's been fairly quiet tonight, but we might see him... now, what do you do when you've got ace-jack and someone's raised, over-raised in front of you?
I generally fold. I give him the benefit of the doubt.
But Johan knows better than re-raises. Well, that's brave play. I have to say that the original raise was a bit odd.
You think so?
It was, well, put 7 in.
7 into 1-2, that's a pot size.
Oh, I suppose that's, yes, 1-2, I forgot that. It was not odd at all, it was perfect. Quite a brave re-raise, though.
Now, ace queen suited, nothing on the board. 2 overcards, doesn't fancy a continuation bet. Let's have a look. Is Running Lee going to take this off him? Yes, he is. I don't think Jack can call here. Well, he can raise. I'm not sure a call would be very wise.
and he decides to fold. Well done,
Just going
Running
back
Lee.
to that re-raise by Johan Harem with the ace-jack. Because you win a hand or lose a hand doesn't mean you played it well or badly. It's just the way it turns out. The truth is, if he re-raises with ace-jack and gets called and misses the flop, he's in a world of pain now, isn't he? He's without position as well.
Well, I think he'd use his counter because, from what I know about Johan Harren, he's quite likely to bet the flop. And he may actually end up winning more if he gets called.
Yeah, I guess so. It's possible.
But of course, it takes guts to do that.
Well, I have to say I couldn't do that. I'm pretty brave with aces. It's got your hand here.
Let's have a look. Oh, let's go. Haffy gets a walk.
For those that aren't quite up to speed, there's an incredibly long thread on the Poker Night Live forum about a controversial play by Dr. Tom last week with ace-4 against Night Nurse, in which he he flopped the nut straight and no, he turned the nut straight.
No, I flopped the nut
You
straight.
flopped the nut straight.
It was slow played till the turn.
Slow play to the turn, and Night Nurse managed to 4-flush it with aces, and there's been considerable controversy about it.
I haven't looked at that thread since I posted on it, TK.
You don't want to go there.
Putting forth my opinion in the most erudite terms I could muster. But if the crowd has come down with thumb down on me, then throw me to the lions.
They're arguing merrily.
Do I have any champions out there?
Yes, you do, you do.
Is it Greg Raymer?
No.
Well, look at it. This is almost classic, TK. We've got ace-king suited versus queens. It would be slightly more classic, well, if the sevens weren't butting their nose in, if the queen of diamonds wasn't there. Still, 4 outs against 2 of them, or rather 2 of them have 4 outs between them against his ace-king. And he's played that with considerable, well, what's the word? Well, lack of, well, I don't know what, he's bet it big is what I'm saying, TK.
Yes. Well, he would say I'm protecting against the flush, but it's a fairly long shot, and if he doesn't bet, then the gentleman with the queens has to have a little pop at that. It's a horrible flop for queens, but you can't just check. You have to see where you are. So I think I might have risked a flush there, and probably done the money as well. The opportunity for Johan to steal with ace and a button is going to be denied, I suspect, by Running Lee. No.
Well, Haffy coming in is, look at that, and that's not unusual, that. One guy limping, especially a tight player, if Haffy is, can take the wind out of the sails of all the wannabe tea leaves behind him. And they're playing good, tight, aggressive poker, frankly, by folding there. Aggressive poker entails a lot of folding, rather paradoxically. You can't play every hand, and if you're going to be betting the ones that you're playing, and that is what aggressive play is, and then the other side of the coin is that you must fold. Just tell yourself you're folding aggressively, and that should enable you to feel better about it. Well, I call him a small blind from Jack. He's put in 3 to save his 1. And I don't think that's terribly wise play. However, maybe he can smell 3-2 and the rotten stink coming off it. So he takes the pot down. But given I'm quite happy to fold my small blind against no raise, I'm even more wary about putting in 3 to protect 1. However, I'm a bit of a rock when it comes to calling. Fold, fold, fold. Do 7 offsuit with position. No. 7-3 offsuit with 3-1 from the pot. No. Bunch of rocks. Hello. Running Lee is playing creatively with his Jack-8 suited. Jack-8 is just a terrible straightening pair of cards. You catch the 9-10. catch the queen, you flop the straight, you still might well be behind. Someone could have a better straight. And it's very easy for higher cards to come to counterfeit the straight. So it almost never makes a straight, and it's hardly bomb-proof anyway when it does. Best bit about that hand was the suited jack. So it gives you some idea of how good it was. But he did bet it. Now, if I'm looking at a player one off the cutoff, I'm quite like to put them on cards like King Queen, King Jack, Queen 10. So I want to protect against the straight draw, and Johan Haran has read that very nicely. I think, of course, he's got two pair, it helps. He doesn't hang around by just calling.
It is a very dangerous flop, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah, especially against that sort of player.
It's all around the paint areas, and you expect people to be messing around in hands with that sort of... they could easily have flopped a straight there. So he has to find where he is.
And Haffy, using a bit of position there, very nice. Lovely jubbly. Right, well, let's have a look at a couple of emails before we take our break. We've got one here from Jiggery Pokery.
What a good name, Jiggery Pokery.
Yes, it is. He says, I've started playing live poker tourneys, and I'm usually quite a friendly, outgoing person, but I clam up on the poker table and just glumly wait for good cards. I reckon the other players think I'm a bit of a dork. How do I come across better at the poker table? Well, TK, how does Jiggery Pokery, and this is a very interesting question, we don't often get asked questions like this, so thank you for that. How does he, he's worried, he's happy apparently with his play. It sounds good if you're waiting for good cards. How does he come across better?
Well, I assume he must be a little nervous. If your normal style is to be outgoing, friendly, chatty, and you're sitting there very quiet, and I think glum was your word. Are you uncomfortable? Are you nervous? Is something bothering you? I think you have to be comfortable at the table to give of your best. I think you've got to relax. I make a point before a competition starts, a tournament, is trying to say hello to everybody. I just do. A, it's good manners, and B, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to do. When you arrive, just say hi, how you doing, what sort of day you had. Get a little bit of crack going. You're going to be sat there for a long time, and I think it may help you overcome your problem, which I can only say must be shyness or something. But you do need to get a bit of banter going, I think, because any tournament to get to a final table, you could be looking at 8 hours or 10 hours. You don't want to sit there for 8 or 10 hours saying nothing, do you? You want to have some fun. So when you first arrive, try introduce yourself or saying hi. Guy that sat next to you, ask him where he's come from, what he's been doing. You know, does he play here very often? Just get something going. You could always buy them a drink, or perhaps not.
I wouldn't worry about it too much. I mean, if you're doing it for your own, if you want asking how you can make your poker experience more fun, then by all means do what TK says there and get the banter going. But to be honest, if you behave yourself relatively graciously at a poker table and you put your blinds in on time and you don't give people the rub down and you put deodorant under your armpits and things like that, people are going to like you. The worst thing you can do is to come into a poker room with all sorts of attitude and reckoning you're the man and know it all. But if you just keep yourself to yourself and behave relatively pleasantly at a poker table, I think everyone will be perfectly happy to play poker with you. So don't worry about them thinking you're a dork, and I wouldn't worry too much about going out of your way to prove it otherwise. We've got a very interesting email here, which we haven't got time for, so we'll look at it perhaps after the break.
What a smooth link.
Thank you. It's from Indestructible, and it concerns the wonderful game of Omaha Hold'em Poker, to give it its full title.
Its full name.
After the break, you'll be hearing about that. Welcome back to Poker Night Live. Well, TK is on a table that's rapidly filling up. Have you got time to wax lyrical about Omaha before you're put to the
Wax
Hold'em test?
lyrical, any time for you.
Okay. It's from Indestructible, this email. He says, guys, I was wondering if you can give me any general tips on playing Omaha, and are there any common errors made by new players? I'm guessing that what is a good hand in Texas Hold'em
such as a pair of kings rather, is less likely to win in Omaha. Any help would be appreciated. TK, over to you.
Well, if you're a complete novice, the first thing you must remember is you have to use 2 cards out of your hand. Sounds very simple, but you're amazed how many people make the mistake. In Hold'em, you don't have to actually use any cards in your hand, or 1 will do, but in Omaha, you have to use 2. So if it comes 4 hearts and you've got the ace of hearts, just be careful what you're doing here, because it gets a bit tricky. 2 of your cards have to play. The other thing is, what's a strong hand? Well, double-suited aces and kings is said to be the best hand. And generally you can tell much easier in Omaha by raising and re-raising pre-flop with aces and kings. But essentially it's a drawing game. It's a very, very strong gambling game, and it's a dangerous game. So unless you know what you're doing, please be very careful. And who was that from, that question?
Indestructible, so that goes well.
Oh, it's not from Jim D, our Omaha king. It's from Indestructible. He's I don't know what he's good at. I'm sure he's good at something.
I've made a few notes here, just sort of random notes I was thinking about in the break when it comes to Omaha. Read a book. I mean, it's always wise to read books. So have a look at Ruben Ciafoni's. They're quite good in their book on pot limit and no limit poker. They've got quite a good Omaha section. Ace-Ace is not nearly so big a hand in Omaha as it is in Hold'em. In fact, it's really a difficult hand because it's difficult to improve. And if you see a multi-way pot, then it's probably going to be behind. So unless you can get all your chips in the middle before the flop with aces, sometimes you're going to have to let it go. Kings, indeed, as you surmise, is really a pretty awful hand because it's very, very easily runs into aces. And when kings run into aces, you're in terrible, terrible trouble. In fact, in Omaha, you'd rather have 4 completely random different cards than a pair of kings when your opponent has aces, because you're trying to make 2 pair. What else have I got here? You're looking to make the nuts. In Omaha, you're not really playing 1 hand, you're playing 6 hands at the same time, remember, because as Tikay said, you've got to use 2 cards in your hand, and because there are 6 combinations of 2 cards, then that's the kind of hand you're playing. So a number of hands that look a bit innocuous are quite good in Omaha, because all 4 cards are working together to make 6 playable combinations, whereas you can have a hand, as I say, like a pair of kings, where there's 1 great pair, but the rest of it is a bit rubbish, and it's in fact not a very strong hand. Don't loosen up. That's the other thing I would say, is that people who play Omaha for the first time having played Hold'em think that every hand is playable. They all look so wonderful. They've all got something going for it. That can't be the case. Poker is a zero-sum game. If every hand you've got is wonderful, then every hand that everyone else has is wonderful, and theirs are likely to be more wonderful than yours. So decide how many hands you're going to play pre-flop. 20% a full-handed game is perfectly reasonable. It doesn't have to be more than that. And if you find you're playing more than that, just cut out the weaker hands, and you'll probably find it turns your play into a winner. And finally, just a quick warning, a quick health warning about small pairs. They are absolutely poisonous in Omaha, and the reason why small pairs are poisonous is that small sets in Omaha are poisonous. They're very often beaten by flushes and straights, and they're often dead on the flop or the turn to someone holding a higher set, so just throw them away. A hand like 5s, a pair of 5s and a pair of 6s in Omaha is complete rubbish. Throw it away, or you're going to lose lots of money. Hope that helps, Indestructible, but the thing to do, of course, is to play very low stakes or free forms of the game, read a book, and then start very, very slowly and keep very exact records. And, of course, get something like Poker Tracker Omaha, which will tell you which hands are winners and which are losers for you.
Just one last word on Omaha. We could talk about Omaha all night. It's a fascinating game.
Game of the future.
Oh, wonderful. I really, really love it. But some people, when they first begin, make the mistake. What would you do if you're in Omaha? And this happens quite a lot. If you got dealt quads.
Quad 2s.
Quad anything. You get rid of them pretty damn quick. It's no hand. Just dump it.
Dump it. In fact, trip aces is almost unplayable for the same reason. Lovely. Right, we're going to take you now down to that cash game. We're going to be featuring cash, of course, for this section of the programme. TK is out of the starting blocks and about to weave his magic with the magical hand he's holding. I can't give you any clues as to what it is. So it's 1-2. I'm not a minger. He's a player in seat 6. And he's rather massively outdrawn. Name exists there. And difficult there for name exists because a pair of queens might think that with 2 aces on the board, it's less likely that I'm not Ming has got one, but he's worked it out. let it go, and Joker now, who was in third place, is now in second place, but that's really not much of an improvement.
I've got some evidence that people are listening to what we're saying.
Really?
Because I was talking to you and I auto-folded out of turn and I got spotted. They say you don't listen to the advice.
Hey, we don't practice what we preach.
Be so careful, you see.
Well, Joko's still in it. Anonyming has, of course, got a full house at this stage. And so he's going to be looking to bet for value. He knows he's ahead. The question is, how much can he win? And don't be under any illusions there. It's all very well having played it brilliantly to the river and got that amount of money into the pot, whatever it was. But if you bet 12 and your opponent would have called 16, you've made a mistake on the river. Sure, you've got paid, but you didn't get paid as much as you could have. Or likewise, if you bet 16 and he folds and he would have called 12, again, you win what's in the pot, but you made a mistake. And at the end of the year, when you do your records, find out how much you've won, then you will be missing a whole range of value bets that you got wrong on the river.
Where are you buying your ship from?
My ship, Bromsgrove.
Yeah, there's a man here says he'll pick it up for you. How about that?
Really?
Yes.
How's he going to get it down to London?
Well, I suppose he's going to sail it or whatever you do with...
Well, he needs quite a lot of time to get... I mean, you can get from Bromsgrove to London on the one of those canals. Can't remember which one. But it'll take a while.
It might be the Avon and Kennet.
Ooh.
Probably not.
No, a bit far north, I think. Name exists, take it down. So let's talk a bit about stealing in cash games, because it's not quite the absolute necessity it is in short-stacked tournaments. Sit and goes, or indeed in the later stages of MTTs, particularly in those which have a fast structure. It's the case in cash games that you can, if you find a sufficiently loose one or poor one, make a perfectly respectable profit on them never stealing, which is not going to be the case in a tournament. But, of course, if you can make more money stealing, then you should steal. It does also, of course, affect your table image. If you have rocky tendencies, you're going to want to put in a steal every now and then just to preempt the situation of being dealt a big hand in the very near future. If you folded for the last 4 rounds of the button, you get dealt kings or aces and you bet and everyone folds, well, surprise, surprise, you had a rocks image. But if you put in a little steal a few hands before, even if the long run that steal is only going to break even, you won't make any money on it, it does loosen up your image a bit. So use it for that reason, if for none other. Still in, TK? You're playing under Nick's moniker, I see.
I'm Nick W tonight. What do you mean still in?
Well, I know you like to raise on Jack 10.
I'm up to 8th now.
Well done. Jack, with a middle set. And name exists with top pair, top kicker. Neither hand looked particularly promising before the flop, but they've turned them into a couple of whoppers. Name exists as raised, and now what? Jack, of course, is trying to work out what sort of hand name exists could be playing with, and of course, in the big blind, it could be a very wide range. Jack can't even be sure he's ahead. Name exists has got ace 3, 3, 6, and Jack is behind, although with a reasonable draw. And the raise there signifies that he's certainly not interested in slow playing this. He's worried that name exists might have a straight draw, I think. And he knows now, because he's probably watching on TV, but he didn't know then. And that was a good lay down by name exists, but a perfectly doable one. Really, if Jack raises there, he must have top pair beaten. He can hardly be doing that with 5 king, or certainly any weaker pair. And you'll see this, of course, in cash games that, in a way that you won't in tournaments. People raising, re-raising, getting re-raised, and then throwing their hand away.
In a tournament, by then they're often all in, or so far all in that they've got a call, even though they know that they might be behind, probably are behind, because they might catch a miracle card and they're getting odds rather from the pot to do it. Now, top pair versus nut flush draw with an overcard. So I'm not having certainly with a few outs there, and Firebird also drawing now to a rather lacklustre straight, and he bets about half the pot, slightly more, and there's the flush. And it makes the straight for Firebird, but he's, I'm sure, not going to place huge amounts of credibility on that. He knows that Ace-Jack, for example, was just about a possible calling hand. Always bet it. Interesting bet. Hoping to get paid by King-Queen, maybe, or someone who just won't put down a king. A raise, of course, is coming in. 39 in the pot. How much? Call of 10 and a raise of 30, so slightly sub-pot bet. I quite like it, and it gets paid. Well played, I'm not having it. Craven. Not with much of a hand there. Oh, he raises up. And he's put in the big bet. He's put in pretty much twice the pot, and it worked. Joko now with the bullets. And there's no clear amount he should bet here, but my recommendation would be to bet the sort of sum you've been betting with a range of other hands. The important thing is not to set any alarm bells ringing. You've got 343 chips there. The people in the blinds have got a similar amount. You want to be able to maintain deception with this hand right through until the moment when all your chips go in, because that way you've got a better chance of being paid on each bet. And that's a nice looking flop for the aces, because yeah, he can do exactly what he's done now. I like that bet. He's put in a pot size bet when he's probably ahead, but he's probably up against a draw. And very few draws are getting 2 to 1 to catch on the next card, and that was the odds that Joker was giving Firebird, but many people will pay to draw to it. The only problem with that hand, flop for him, was that it was difficult to see really which draw Firebird could have been drawing to. So Joko faces a whole range of different scare cards. However, he may have put considerable store in his own ability to work out from Firebird's action what hand he had or hadn't made when the third card came. He's getting all the hands now. Aces, kings, 9-jack off. Jack 8 suited, I was slagging off earlier. Johan Haran takes the pot with it. How about Jack 8 offsuit? Nope. And Johan Haran's just bet in the small blinds, but sees no reason not to carry on. Takes it down. Not a great flop for Ryan Mullinger. He's got a pair. He might feel he's got to bet it on that basis, but to be honest, I don't mind a check at all. I don't mind a check. And it looks a bit lame to have checked the pair through to the river, but some of the time, of course, when he bets, he'll just be walking straight into a check raise. So I don't mind the way he played that particularly. And Craven fortunate not to get raised off that. And with a pair on the board, it's that much easier for him to make a continuation bet, because it's less likely that his opponent has made a pair. That one takes it down. Desultory cards here. Joko with the ace-8 can let it go. Yes, he does. He was, in fact, dominated. Firebird likewise. Name exists, take it down. We're seeing very standard poker here, I must say. Pretty standard cash game play. And by far and away, by miles, by far and away, the most important tactic, tip, strategy for winning cash games in poker, particularly in online poker, is table selection. Because it's the one thing you have control over that you don't in a multi-table tournament. You cannot pick who you sit down with. In a multi-table tournament, the best that you can do is find one that's likely to attract generally loose people, loose players, and hope that you get the goodies off the poor players before someone else gets it. But in a cash game, you can up and go, you can move around, you can sit out, go and look for a better game. The world is your lobster. Everyone's got a piece of it, but Nick and one, to my mind, is in the most secure position with a nut flush draw. However, well, I think he's going to call this actually. Looking at the pot here, he's getting exactly the pot odds he needs to draw to a flush, and in fact his ace there is good as an out as well, although he probably would be unwise to count it as such. No guarantee he's not up against someone with a pair and an ace kicker. He's made his flush, there's a possible straight on the board, he's hoping someone's got it, and he might well pick a bet here that could conceivably be paid off by a straight. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm looking to put in actually. Exactly something around that. About a third of the pot. But no customer from the pairs. Ten-8, can he resist its siren song? No, in goes the raise. Now, ace-jack suited in the small blind, decides to have a look, probably hoping, well, obviously to flop a flush draw is lovely. And it's strangely, it's strong enough there that he doesn't have to bet it and exploit his counter position. He can check it and call. And I love the play from Craven. I think he worked that out very sensibly. He said, look, I've got a strong hand here, I've got a big draw. If I bet here, my opponent may decide he doesn't believe me, he's got a pair and raise me, and then I can call or I can risk even more chips re-raising. But if I check it and he bets at me, I can check raise him, showing great strength, put in exactly the same amount of money as I would put in if I bet and then called, but by doing the check raise and putting in the second bet myself, I stand a reasonable chance of pushing him off it. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, you've got to take a view, haven't you? Has he got it or hasn't he? Not that likely. About 30 to 1. Joko comes back over the top and giving him incorrect odds to draw to a flush. So Joko playing it by the book. And I'm not having a... Surely must let it go. He can't particularly represent a flush here because it is a bit of a long shot. And a big raise might be interpreted by Joko as just a bet with a nut flush draw. And Joko's going to call, of course, or raise with a range of hands such as the one he had. So I'm not having correctly worked out there that there was no bluffing opportunities to be had. Nick and one takes it down. Two pair. Not a bad hand, is it? Two pair. Threes and twos on that occasion. And let's have a look at Johan Haren's standards. Above the minimum. Two players with ace-king, and it looks like this pot will quickly become heads up unless Firebird calls, in which case Craven might come in. But I think it's going to raise, and I'm Nottingham will probably call, and everyone else will run for cover. That's pretty much what I'm predicting. There's the raise, 4 times the big blind. Craven folds, and I'm Nottingham. Interesting. Well,
It serves as an isolating raise because it makes it difficult for everyone else to call but easy for Firebird to call. But it does of course give Firebird a chance to back raise him, and if he's got something like queens he might do that, and that's not what I'm Not a Minger wants to bring about, because ace king against queens and not in bad shape at all if you see a flop cheaply. But you need to see that flop. And that's happened. He's suffered a re-raise, and it's now going to cost him that bit much more to see the flop and to throw his hand away if he must do that. It's shortened his implied odds if he catches an ace or a king and his opponent is in a frame of mind to play. But I'm Not a Minger has taken a view, Firebird also taken a view, and I think when I'm Not a Minger was called there, he will be absolutely delighted to see ace king. And was worried about a pair, and particularly worried about kings or even worse aces. Well, look at this, kings, queens and tens all out there. Oh, a pair of threes chucked into the smorgasbord. Craven going to let it go. I'm Not a Minger, I'm sure going to raise here. I would think a hefty one, 10, 12 at this stage for me. Maybe 10, 10, 12. Yeah, it's a good bet. If they all fold, that's fine. You picked up a reasonable pot. If they call, I think you can reliably rule out a number of hands, like 6, 7 suited, unless of course a whole bunch of them call. Now what? Do you slow play it? Do you want to play it multi-way? If you call, of course, other people are more likely to come in, the Firebird and the Craven. How many people do you want in this pot, Joko? No one apart from yourself. And I'm Not a Minger. We just saw him make a big move with ace king. Is he going to make a big call with queens? It all depends on what he knows about Joko. This is nothing to do with odds here. The odds now are absurdly long, close to evens. It's simply, would Joko move with a range of hands worse than queens? He knows Joko would move with aces and with kings. Would he move with jacks and tens? If he would, then I'm Not a Minger can move. He can call. On that occasion, unfortunately, Joko had the business, and I'm Not a Minger has done his wad. Tricky hand, queens, when you've got lots of chips. Unlucky. And Joko on a roll. Whew. Queens have rematerialised in Johan Haren's hand. He's got a wonderful image for playing big hands because people think he's at it, and he always flat called here. Well, that is interesting, because Johan Haren rarely calls. He does a lot of raising. I'm puzzled what his game plan is, but let's have a look at the flop. Well, it's slightly dangerous to pair of queens. 9-10 is possible but unlikely. Pair of jacks is possible. In fact, all those trips are possible. The flush draw, even two pair possibly. And I think now he's certainly going to raise. That'd be. I'd fall off my commentator's chair if he didn't raise here. And I'm still attached to it. There is the raise. Craven, of course, now. And it's all very well saying Johan Haren's an aggressive player, but he's bet into a three-way pot there, or it was when he bet. And Craven correctly gives him the full respect that his hand merited. Jack gets a look in with his ace-queen offsuit. Oh, the nines again. Joker can have a pot? No, just a flat call. I think we're going to have a three-way pot until such time as Johan Haren raises. Wow, top set and a completely benign board. I think he might check here. Yes, he does. And he wants to give them just enough rope to hang themselves. Oh, he's praying that I'm Not a Minger's got a 4 sitting in the big blind there. He's going to bet here, I'm sure. And I like the bet. Could be regarded as a steal. Could give someone a draw. Happy to draw to a poor straight or a flush, which of course Johan Haren doesn't mind the making. He's got the full house. And Johan Haren, I think, now will be looking to put in the bet that looks like a bluff, which can get paid off by not much. Yeah, that's about the sort of size. 2/3 of the pot. Exactly what you put in on as a bluff if you thought there was pretty much 50-50 chance your opponent would fold against that size bet. So, nice play from Johan Haren. Still, it's always easy to play well when you turn a full house until it gets done. Hello. Suits you, sir. In comes the raise. 3 times the big blind. Firebrand might well want to come in with this. He's played a fair number of pots this evening. They are suited. Ah, you know you're going to call Firebird. Just stick it in. You're not going to raise, or I think you'll agree that that's not a raising hand, but, well, who can blame him? He's getting reasonably attractive odds. He's probably hoping to make 2 pair. Now what? Let's see how cautious he feels about King Queen. Well, I think he's going to want to bet it to find out where he is. Pot size bet, or 10 maybe. Ha! Well, he's cursing that because he knows now that Name Exists could have hit an ace. He's going to be confused by the check there, and I understand why he thinks that Name Exists would protect an ace with some sort of bet. He won't put Name Exists on such a strong hand that can so happily slow play out on the turn. And that's a nice card for Name Exists because it looks like a nothing card, and I think he's done exactly the right thing by checking there. He's given Firebird an opportunity to bluff. Unfortunately, because Firebird has got a genuine hand, Poker Theory says here it would be wise just to check it, and that's what he hasn't done. I think Name Exists was hoping to elicit a bluff. But now he can raise, and he's going to want to make it look like a bluff. I put in 22, 23 here. And the big dwell up is 24. Okay, what a maniac. And, well, he played that very nicely. But again, of course, catching a set on the turn does wonders for your play. Six, 8, 7, something like that. Well, Firebird not interested in playing that particular number. It's going to be folded to Nicken, who hasn't taken a pot for a while. I wonder if he's going to steal. No, apparently not. Jack can put in 6 bucks here or so. 8 is fine. And Tikay is just toying with the opposition. He's let 7 players remain in the competition.
I'm in the last 8 now.
Normally by now he'd have decapitated them all, apart from one who he'd have clutched between his paws.
We're enjoying ourselves here. A little banter going around.
Oh yeah.
I've had aces 11 times.
Wow. Oh, that's right, I saw you playing them. You must have been gutted when you didn't get called.
They're starting to sort of see through the story, I think.
No, he had them, but he was still had his fingers crossed. In case they turned back into... What was it, TK, you were betting with? Can't remember.
Aces. Told you.
No aces down here. Nothing at all. And not much there either. Jack 8 can be surrendered in the small blind. Well, 3 to 1, I guess, if you must. Cheeky little bet from the Firebird. No. Cheeky little bet from the bottom pair. 4 in the pots. Pot size bet. Find out where he is. He's ahead. Takes the pot down. Now the 9s again. Oh, change of tactic. Well, he is in early position, so decides to play them for the implied odds. He's going to get three players in this pot, I think. Johan Haran probably got plans for the flop, and I don't think he can bet this. He must credibly worry about a king in Jack's hand. If Jack had limped in a pot that no one had called, that doesn't generally mean a king. That might sometimes, but limping when there's already been a limper could easily be a king. And if that's the image that Jack is playing off with a raise here, I think he's done it very nicely. In fact, he may know when he puts in that bet he's got a reasonable chance of pushing someone off a 10. Not Johan Haran, who decides to peel off another card, and I think he'd probably surrender against a bet on the turn had he not made his 2 pair. 19 in the pot. Jack is now worried.
knows that the queen, of course, could make a host of hands for Johan Haren. Straight 2 pair, and correctly reads the situation. Well done, Jack. Fortunate catch for Johan Haren. Even though he was ahead, I think a nothing card there, he might have been pushed off it from a bet from Jack. Hello, that's exactly the situation we were looking at earlier. 10 Jack suited in mid position. TK was saying you should consider playing it. And Nemesis has raised it, but unfortunately in a world of pain he's completely dominated before the flop, and in a flap against 2 pairs on the flop itself. No outs that I can see. And his only out is out of the door by throwing it in the bin. I think he can probably work this one out. I think it was a genuine dwell up. And he lets it go. Well folded. How much? Pot size bet, Mr. Minger. Glad to see you back. Sorry, you're not a Minger, I know that. Just a dinky one. Looking to let someone in the blinds catch an underpair to his jacks. Doesn't happen. And I don't mind a call here. I don't mind a raise either. Depends how you're feeling. Nick and feeling relatively fruity. Truth be told, 7s is a pretty good hand in the small blind. And I think considerably better than, say, a pair of 2s. There's a very good chance your opponent has got an undercard to your 7s, which massively reduces their outs. Whereas in other situations, a pair of 7s is clearly no different from a pair of 2s, and that's when you're facing players who've shown strength before the flop, and it's a multi-way pot. Your 7s are almost certainly not going to be ahead on their own merit by the river. So you're looking to catch trips, and if you're going to catch trips, it's highly unlikely that it matters whether it's trip 7s or trip 2s. In Hold'em, Omaha, a different story. Now, Johan Haren with a 15 outs here, got the 9 flush outs and 6 cards to make an overpair to the board. Yeah, Jack says, I don't quite believe this story. What you suddenly discovered, Johan Haren, with that 3? You got 3, I don't think that's likely. But Haren takes it down nevertheless. Jack betting here. Just had an email come in from Tragic Trev, who says, hi there chaps, great to see a top pairing on the presenter front, bringing back a more refined viewing experience. Are we refined, TK? What are the other ones doing?
Is that from
Tragic Trev,
Uncle Bert? A refined pairing, does it say?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, indeed, yeah.
But he says you've had a super duper hairdo, and I must say he's right. You look very, if I may say so, very sexy with that hairdo.
You can say it, but you mustn't touch me, TK, even when the cameras are off. I told you about this. It does no good for your play. And Trevor says, at last we see the cash coming back to Poker Night Live. After all, this is where most poker pros win and lose most of their income. Yes, that is true. Will we see the 2-4 or the 5-10 come back? If we do, I will be there. Can you let everyone know that I'm waiting on the 2-4 for a game? And if you do show it, don't think I lost 200. It's just that I've come in short stacked. There you go, Tragic Trev waiting on the 2-4, and he's come in short stacked. So, well, make of that what you will. But sure enough, if we get a 2-4 game going, we will certainly be showing it. In the meantime, back to the 1-2. Fold like the wind. And a walk. Well, we've seen I'm not having to do a couple of hundred. We've seen Firebirds going up and down, but
General direction seems to be down. Now, I'm not a man who comes in, praying he won't be raised behind him. And he's missed. In fact, everyone's missed, so the sevens are still in the lead. I think he's got to check it. Yeah, Jack could easily be slow playing there. And the 8 is not necessarily a card that will have connected. He might want to bet here. Against one player I might check it, but against two I think I'm going to bet it. I don't want the combined weight of opposition against me. 4 live cards, 4 live over cards drawing against me. And now he puts in a value bet, and I think that's a very strange bet indeed. Extraordinarily strange bet. He reopened the betting, giving his opponents a chance to bet at him for a trifling sum. And unless he thought he was going to induce a bluff and get paid by calling it, which would be extremely advanced play to say the least, I don't think there's much value in that bet. What do you think, I'm not doing it? Email me and tell me if I've missed something there. Or maybe you thought that it was a dead cert to get paid by a worse hand with a 4. And Tikay still toying with the unfortunate opposition here. There's still 8 players left in.
It's a real rock table, this is.
And this is around about where I made my move with the ace-4, I think, Tikay. 40-80. Where are you now?
No, we're at 163.20.
Oh my God! And
we haven't lost anybody yet.
you're still folding small aces?
Well, I've had aces a lot of times, to be fair.
But never together, I've been noticing. Shh. Well, Jack's hand, which looked a very long way behind pre-flop, 7-9 suited versus 9s, is now leapt into the lead. He's got the straight, he's got the flush draw. But of course, I'm not a minger. When you've got a set, you've always got a tremendously powerful draw to the full house. He doesn't make it. 69 in the pot. And I'm not a minger. I will take that as a blocking bet, hoping to prevent a raise. And Jack goes for the value bet there. He's not worried about the higher straight. He's worried about missing a value bet. And that is indeed a genuine worry. You should be worried about. Just as much as betting into a bigger hand. Money not won is money lost. You're going to see a loose call here? No, you're going to see a disciplined fold. Going higher and fairly aggressive, but not a mug, and I don't think name exists. Could be certain he was going to get paid if he could make his trips to the tune that he needed to be paid to pay off that long shot call had he made it. Now, ace-king off suit with a limper. Raise or call? Inclined to raise 2. And I'll probably raise a little bit more. But let's see. Perhaps he's quite happy to tango on the flop. Well, he won't mind that. He's thinking immediately, what's the chances of Queen 10 given the action I've seen? And he thinks, well, not very likely. Nick and 1 is a relatively sound player. He probably wouldn't have limped with it in the first place. Probably would have folded against my raise. But Jack betting out there hoping that Nick and 1's got a worse 2 pair, I think, or an ace that he's not prepared to put down, ace queen, say. Now, Firebird been waiting for a hand. Here it is. How much? 6? 7? I put in whatever I've bet previously on the button. He decides that's 8. I don't believe this can be called. Not offsuit. Not that I'm wishing to imply that if it's suited he can, but hey, we all have weak spots. Fold, fold, fold. Big old hand in the small blind. Let's see how Johan Aaron plays it. He's going to fold it just to wind me up, I think. He's given it the dwell-up treatment. Oh, he's limped. And caught a big old draw there. In fact, He's not got a bad hand against that opposition. He's dominating I'm Not a Minger. He's got 2 overcards to Nick and Wan's little pair there, but he can't call. Well, that was a adventurous play from I'm Not a Minger. He didn't really have much of a draw. He had a draw to a draw. But he read it nicely. Well played. Very well played. Steal. Yeah, there's a steal. And Jack, I think, going to call. Everyone else folds. Calling 6, making a pot of 17. He's getting 2 to 1. I think, although you're out of position and you're against a raiser, well, he raises fine. I don't mind that either. The only trouble is that size bet is almost certainly going to get called by a Firebird with any hand he has. So you don't get much information. And there is a problem, because Jack just may not believe Firebird here. He may put in the continuation bet himself. He may call a bet from the Firebird thinking that his is a continuation bet. Yeah, that's difficult. I think Firebird's going to play this strongly. He may have read the situation very nicely. He does have to be worried about a high pocket pair, but Jack would make that kind of bet with overcards, and of course overcards are much, much more likely than a pocket pair, much more likely. And now the ace, of course, is a real worry, because if his opponent had overcards, it probably was an ace in it, and if he didn't, he almost certainly had a higher pocket pair. So Firebird now, albeit very nice pot odds he's getting here, very attractive pot odds, about 4 to 1, can get away from it, but decides 2 pair might be beckoning, 5 outs. It's going to happen about 10% of the time, and he decides that although he's not getting pot odds to draw to that, he might be getting pot odds if there's a sniff of a chance that Jack is bluffing. So he's gone, and the writing was on the wall for a while, I think, with the Firebird. Well, Queens versus Ace King. Nicken given a bit of a dwell up. Minimum raise, isolating raise. Yeah, not bad. Now, that looks strong to my mind. Yeah, I can see the queens, of course, but Nicken one has been pretty careful with the pots he's entered. Oof. Well, he's fortunate he's up against queens. He might well take this. No, even so, he doesn't get the fold, so he's behind. But there was nothing about Nicken one's bet that wasn't consistent with kings or aces. And I'm Not a Minger took a view there. You know, Ace-King is a very foldable hand in a cash game, very foldable. Great hand in a short stack tourney. And he was a small favourite, Nicken one. Well, it might be time just to cool off for I'm Not a Minger. It's so unlikely that Nicken one would have put in that little minimum raise with Ace-Queen. It's just staggeringly unlikely. Or Ace-Jack suited or anything. Those are calling hands. It was screaming pocket pair. And maybe sometimes I'm Not a Minger will get Nicken one to put down a hand that's a small favourite, like a pair of jacks, even a pair of queens. But Nicken one called with queens. Of course he's going to call with kings or aces. I think I'm Not a Minger was getting signs there that going all in with Ace-King wasn't a sound move. And Boyce betting into a far superior hand. Firebird is back. Facing a pot-sized bet, puts in the re-raise, and that will take it down. And he's off the starting blocks. Delighted to say that Tikay has started eliminating His opponents
We're on 326.40 players. Lost 2 people.
left it a little bit late, but I think he likes the banter. He doesn't like to see anyone leaving the chat box. You know they can carry on talking to you when you've knocked them out, TK.
When I've knocked them out?
Yeah. Nick and One playing it nice and smooth. I think he's going to get a call from Jack Alley. Now, all the implied odds here belong to Jack Alley, every single penny. And truth be told here, although Nick and One's got the better hand, you know what, in the long run, Jack Alley might have better value here because he's seen the hands Nick and One's playing. He's got his opponent pegged as a sound player. Difficult for Nick and One to take money off Jack Alley. Difficult for him to put his hand down when Jack Alley makes the nines. So, paradoxically, I'm not sure the Kings aren't in worse position. Well, I take it all back. Look, Jack Alley's getting involved. So, on this basis, all that counts is having the better hand. So, I take all that back. I didn't think this was going to happen. And of course, Jack Alley, now that I think about it, has just arrived. That seat was previously held by I'm Not a Minger. So, unless he's been watching the game, he doesn't have the benefit of having seen Nick and One's table image. So, this is why he's pressing it home, and surely that will climb up the betting from both of them on the river. I can't believe Nick and One will bet that. No. Check, check, and an inglorious end to the pot. Both of them scared by the ace. How much? 6? Make it 8. Oh, there you go. Well, who's going to play a hand here? Not me. I think you'd have to shuffle them all together to be able to find a winning pair of cards in that. Nope, 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 nope. Johan Haran. Oh, go on, raise it up. 6, 8, in fact. Raise it to 8. All right, 7 then. Split the difference. And Nick and One calls. Ah, interesting. Catches the king, and now his heart will be in his mouth because he's called, thinking Johan probably doesn't need to have much to bet there. He's called his king, but it's a rubbishy king. Yeah, and there's the minimum raise. He wants to find out where he is. Oh, it's just beautiful play. I had a feeling he was going to do that. Oh, and a lovely call from Nick and One, but anyone could take this spot. But that he knew it, Johan Haran could push Nick and One off this. Now, if he puts in a bet here and takes it down, I will... Oh, I'm in rapture here. Oh, it's called. I love the play, and very unfortunate there for Johan Haran. I thought that was fantastic. I was really hoping he was going to take that pot down because it was such audacious play. But he was trumped at the end by Nick and One, though, who managed to call it down. Fantastic play. That's a real joy to watch that, and a great reason to watch cash games because you just can't get those sorts of pots in a sit-and-go tournament because people don't have enough chips to push each other around like that. But thanks for that, guys. Sorry it didn't work out for you, Johan Haran. I'm sure you'll win the chips back, if not necessarily from Nick and One. Great call from Nick and One, although I'm sure deep down you were a little bit nervous about it. Email me if you weren't. TK, how are you getting on?
I've won it. Well, no, I haven't won it, but...
Why are you still being dark cards then?
I'm still in.
Okay, well, after the break, we'll be seeing how TK played his tournament. He is still in. So we're going to take a short break now, but don't go away. We've got 2 more hours of Poker Night Live, TK's tournament, of course, the finals of that MTT. So stick around, plenty more poker action. See you after this break. Well, welcome back to Poker Night Live. Well, the moment of truth has come. It's time for TK to reveal his all, which means in the context of Poker Night Live...
You'll have the girls writing in and all sorts. Steady down.
His sit-and-go strategy. So, TK, what are we going to see?
I see a dominating performance. I'm aggressive from the start, raise every hand and demolish the table.
Okay.
Well, you know. I had a last longer last night.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was in an Omaha comp, and this guy we had a £5 last longer, and I demolished him. And so I said £5, £4.50, £4, and eventually I said, look, 10 bob and I'll settle it. But pride is a funny thing, isn't it? And he wouldn't let it go. And I took his money.
Just out of interest, what was the buy-in for the comp?
$3.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but it was against Colchester Kev. He can't play.
Okay.
He's a complete. What's the word you used earlier? Dork.
Well, that was someone else's word, but that will do. That's a very rude thing to say about a friend on live TV.
He's not a friend.
Oh, okay.
I know him very well.
Lost a viewer, possibly. Anyway, well, now, of course, it's time for him to judge you, because it is your sit and go, TK. Yes, this is your sit and go. Let's go and take a look at it. And you're playing under the moniker of Nick the Hare W.
You're not going to show all of it, are you?
Yep.
It's an hour.
Uh-huh.
Oh dear.
We might pour over a few hands. What are you thinking, TK? Let us into the mind of a master with the Queen 7.
Well, I think I've pre-folded it and I got in trouble for it. I think I clicked the button
Ah,
and somebody sussed me
okay.
out.
$24 Ginger used to be the doyen of the $2 sit and go,
Really?
but he's obviously moved up in the meantime.
Well, I may tell you, he played a very fine game.
Ah. Dominated here though. Top pair notwithstanding. What do you do? Looks like it might be a cheap semi-bluff. Could be anything, couldn't it?
If I got 8 deuce, I run like a running thing pretty
Yeah.
damn quick.
I might peel off another card. See if he shuts up shop. 24 Ginger sees likewise. And it just gets worse and worse for him. Now he's up against dominating 8 with a gut shot draw and a flush draw. Seems to be quite a long way behind.
Goodness me, this is strong play.
650 in the pot. And a check here, I think. Certainly in order. Oh, no, I don't like that. That's the first bit I've been definitely against.
Well, I was just going to say, what a great play by
Say
24.
it.
You said you don't like it. I think it's a great play.
Oh, come on,
he's
TK.
bluffed it all the way. You can't stop now. You've got to fire that third shell.
Isn't that funny? You completely disagree about where the good play was.
Absolutely.
But tell me this, TK, was he bluffing or was he putting in a value bet? Because if it
no,
was a value bet, it sucked. If it was a bluff, it was brilliant.
No, I don't think it's about. I think he bluffed the whole way. I don't think he could think his 8 deuce was winning. Oh, I suppose he did really. But,
Well, it could be winning on the river. I'd have checked it.
well, it's a value bet then.
Well, it was a horrible value bet.
Well, if he doesn't bet and the other guy bets, what does he do then?
Well, then he decides whether it's a bluff or not. I think if he knew he was bluffing, it was inspired, but I just don't believe it. He got the right result for the wrong reason. 24 Ginger, we know you're in email contact. Were you bluffing on the river, or was it a value bet? And don't tell us you don't know, because that's not an excuse in poker. You always do one or the other on the river. Anyway, well done. And having said that, what we've not focused on is his opponent making the wrong fold on the river. Although poker is a zero-sum game, it is possible for two people both to make a mistake.
Oh, I raised here, did I?
Well, you've got top pair
And caught my hand.
and a good kicker. So it turns out King Queen is sometimes a raising hand, despite what we hear on the grapevine.
Well, we were just seeing where at this stage we can mess around a little bit and get away from hands, can't we? It really was a very tight table. I should have been a lot more aggressive. I played one hand so badly that it's incredible.
Yeah, you're missing some of the aggressive players on this table.
It's a pretty tight table, to be honest with you. And I think if I was to play them again, but you know, I did have a lot of big hands.
Is it a calling hand, though? Not on this occasion.
I think Double Top was the gentleman that said he would pick up your ship thing from Bromsgrove.
Well, that's very decent of him. Nosbig. Now, Kings versus King Queen again. How much? Well, yeah, he gets a call. Posh doesn't quite believe it. And oh dear. Well, neither card was going to be much help.
Oh, goodness me. That's a nice flop.
And the ace may save Posh. It means he's going to be less inclined to bet. It means Nosbig, oh dear, he might even take this. Look at this. Do you think he knows he's up? Oof.
Oh, goodness.
Wow, the kings don't look so secure suddenly, do they? What a curious board. An ace in Posh's hand would turn his the kings of Nosbig into a loser, but no great surprises there on the end.
Hey, PUFC boy done very well on the flop there, not to lose a great deal more. Had to think he was winning with King Queen on a King 4-4 flop. Oh, did I just win a hand there?
Looked like it.
Let's see how brave I am here.
What's the big dwell up in aid of?
Well, I got told off because I wasn't using the slider and I didn't know where the slider was, so I got a bit lost.
You've overslid.
Well, I still can't put that slider properly. You can't get the exact bet size, can you? I like to bet in strange amounts.
I never use a slider.
I always type in the amount, and then somebody grasped me up on the forum and said, "He's typing it in. Why don't you use the slider?"
And why do you...
And then while I was trying to use the slider, I found queens, and I was messing around with the slider, and it checked me. Which looked like a cunning check, but it wasn't.
But why are they giving you grief for not using the slider?
Well, there was some comment about modern technology and older generation.
Well, I'm not going to rise to such ageist and frankly irrelevant comments.
Well, I won't have our elder citizens spoken about in such a way.
But I don't use a slider, and I'm only...
Well, I'm very pleased to hear that. I never do use the slider. I find it's dangerous. It's a bit too exciting for me.
Well, neither wants to bet their their second pair, I should say. Not two pair yet. Nor now. Bit of a straight on the board. Ace 2, 3, 4. Any 5 makes it. Check, 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 check. Phantom takes it. And another shortage of decent cards. Ace 2 takes it down.
I used to play a lot of sit and goes, and at this stage, when I'm just above starting stack, I'm quite happy to sit still because certainly when I was playing it, they'd go for each other in the early stages. And you suddenly find yourself 4 or 5 handed and you hadn't done much, but this didn't work out this way at all.
What do you think that calls an head of then? He must have literally contempt for Nosbig's play to call with 5-3.
Yeah.
Well, that's a psychic bet because he's overbet the pot and he's going to push his opponent off a flush draw.
Oh, I don't think he is. Okay, you can't pass this, surely.
Well, he's not getting odds to call. Not by a long chalk, and he has called. Now what? Now double shot's gone the other way. He's given him
See,
excellent
now the
odds.
bet of 80 into 280 pots suggests...
An 8. It's quite a nice representation of an 8.
Oh, he doesn't believe it, and now he's caught the flush.
I think double top was slightly unfortunate there.
Goodness me.
And Nosbig has picked up the implied odds that he needed to make that call on the flop, but how he knew they were coming, I don't know. He knew the odds of the flush coming, but he didn't know the odds of getting paid. Let's see if Nosbig pushes his luck. No, do 7 off in the bin. Just a minimum bet. I think that's unwise because you're probably going to get called with Jack High. You bet there because of the fold equity. And okay, he's up against 2-7, but it's just so easy to get called.
What, 1 with 1?
Yeah, 1 with 1, and a half somewhere in there. Small blind also bigging up the pot a bit. I think you're going to have your blind taken off you here. Yeah, 1 with 3, i.e. 4 times the big blind, and Nick W going to scuttle off, I think.
I think I gave him a warning for it. I gave him a verbal for this.
And what did he say?
I can't repeat, but I asked him if he knew who I was, and he... This is when I got in trouble with a slider thing, I think. I initially decided to play it cute before the flop, I think.
And what happens if he folds you?
Yeah, I decide just to call him. I just decide I'm going to take a flop here.
Mm-hmm.
And the correct place to make it 400 or whatever and see where we are. But I just decided to take a flop for some strange reason. I had a feeling about this hand.
And what was your feeling?
But then it went disastrously wrong, because on the lovely flop, while I was messing around trying to work this slider damn thing, it checked me. I must have run out of time.
I think you should stick to what you know, TK. Aye, aye.
Now, I mean to bet here, but they accelerated the clock or something, or there was a malfunction, and nothing happened. And when I looked, I checked.
I don't actually mind a check here, to be honest. Not desperately.
Well, it's the wrong way of doing it, but as it happens, I think if the raise comes behind me, I'll probably do better out of it.
Yeah, and I'm not desperately worried about an overcard. If someone has got an ace or a king, the chance of one coming is pretty pretty low in the next card. I'm prepared to gamble to create a bit of action.
See, this really is a classic tight table, isn't it? There's nobody bet. I've intended to bet and I've messed up, fine. But the guy with fives on a 499 flop has done nothing, and the ace queen has done nothing. Now I bet the magic number, 425.
So, otherwise known as a pot size bet, here or there. What are you hoping to get called by, realistic? Are you looking to get a call from a...
I don't really want to call, I'm quite happy with this.
Right. What if you get raised? Right.
Ah, well, I get raised. He wouldn't raise me, would he?
Well, you see, some of these scallywags will. Probably with the 9, to be honest, they're going to raise you.
I don't know.
Difficult to put them on anything else, really, isn't it?
I might say in this situation, well, I've still got 2,000 chips. It's a long comp. I'm not doing too bad. Oh my goodness! Oh, I'm glad I got off this hand. I was in a bit of a mess there, wasn't I?
It's all right. The flop was coming 3 queens, but you didn't stick around to see
I
it.
thought how weak I was to pass to the raise, but in fact that was a splendid pass, wasn't it?
Did you give him grief?
No, I think I claimed a misread.
Oh, did you? You can only claim one of those a game, you know.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I'd be some difficulty there.
Marquis of Queensbury. Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the rules people don't know about.
I was 2-tabling the other night, and I was chip leader in a big competition. I mean a big competition, and I got confused as I dashed from table to table, and I must have somehow re-raised with King 7. I know when I got to the table, it was me to act, and there was 64,000 chips in the pot, and I had King 7. How did this happen? But to make it worse, he's come King high. So when the guy's bet on the end, I think, well, I better call him now. I've got all his chips in here, and he had Ace King.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
Oh, well, at least it makes a story for Poker Night Live.
Well, I think you have to be careful when you're multi-tabling, particularly if you're messing around doing other things as well as I tend to. You must concentrate or try and layer the tables in such a way that you can't misclick. But if you're on the same site on 2 or 3 tables, it's easy to lay the tables. But sometimes when you're on a different network, it just comes in the wrong place, as they say. Well, Ace King, Ace King.
414 in the pot. Oh, the advantage belongs to Nosbig. He's got the bigger backdoor flush draw. All the ladies know it. Unless he surrenders it. And he's getting quite nice odds there, but he's got no hand. He's got no guarantee that he'll be ahead. If he does catch a card, he might let it go. Interesting bet from double top. I guess he's hoping that it could credibly represent a pocket pair. And it works. Well played. Now, Posh, under the gun. King Jack suited. 3 times big blind. Going to take it down. Yes, it does. And the pocket pair, small pocket pair in early position for Mr. Kendall.
I think I'll make a dash at this. Or do I limp? I'll probably limp. I'm a bit of a limper.
You're not really a limper in multi-table tournaments, in my experience of playing against you.
No, but I think I'll limp aggressively here.
You grew in the chat box.
No, I raise.
Well, that's an aggressive limp. And you're called by Ginger. Have you lost interest in the spot if you don't catch a 6, or are you still thinking there might be flops you can make a move on?
Well, I don't. When I raise with a hand like that and get called, I'm usually done with it. But there was no action on the flop at all.
Well, it's respect for you, isn't it?
And so when I think a deuce comes on the turn, or do I bet out here?
It's not a very pleasant flop for you against a caller, is it?
Well, 2 overs. I suppose it could only be 3, can't it? But I think I'll have a fly at this. Yeah, I'll have a go at it.
You think you're hard enough, obviously.
I bet a funny amount there, haven't I?
Oh, well, it looks like a reasonable sized bet to me. It's a great read from Ginger.
Well, I think because my bet was too small.
Oh well.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier if you could see the... Oh, I've got your hand here. It'd be a lot easier if you could see the
Suited.
players' cards when you're playing.
We're quite interested to play a bit of pot limit. No
Oh,
limit
I'd
wouldn't be very
love to
interesting.
play pot limit.
But playing pot limit with all the cards exposed, I'd be interested to see how it worked. There'd be more playing than you might mention.
I would play pot limit all day and all night.
What, with your opponent's cards exposed? And yours?
No, I do. I play almost exclusively tournaments online. Seem to be no limit, and in a way, I suppose I prefer playing no limit because I think people play no limit badly by over betting all the time and pushing in too early. But I do feel sometimes, come on, you boys, give me a game of pot limit and we'll see what we can play. But probably such cashes as I do get, I get because largely people tend to over-bet in no limit. They want to get their chips in all the time. Did I just win a hand there?
Oh, I don't know. Tikay, I
You was asleep, yeah, I was asleep as well.
A quick kit, power nap. So all right, that's Jack 6. What do you think? Do you like it?
No.
No.
I thought about having a fly at this, but I might not got past Gaza. It's so difficult when you're first to speak. And you think, well, maybe I'm winning this, but if someone comes back at you, you're in a bit of a spot now, aren't you?
Yeah, you are in third place.
I hate to play out of position. Set of fives, goodness me, I would have been in trouble. Oh, what a very wise pass by me. See, I don't have a lot of guile, but I dodge bullets, don't I? Yeah, if you keep passing, you can dodge these bullets.
Gaz has taken a couple, but I think he can stagger away from this gunfight.
Yeah,
And no decisions to be made, really. When you're up against a bigger hand or a draw, let it go. Unless you'll know for certain or near certain that it's the draw.
Do you play sit and goes?
Not that much, no. I'll play a sit and go if I'm in the mood for a tournament and I haven't got time to play a multi-table tournament because I've got to be somewhere else.
It's funny how you go through phases. I used to play a tremendous amount of sit and goes, and I haven't played one for ages, really. But I'm not a sort of person that wants everything I do. I want to do head on. So if I'm going to play sit and goes, I'm going to play a lot of them. You know, I'm going to play 3 or 4 at a time. I'm going to play 5 or 6 hours on a run, and I'm going to play it for a week. So I'm going to do a lot of them. I can't just dip in and play odd ones. If I can't get a decent tournament, I like to play a little Omaha or Omaha high-low, which is how I won the last longer last night.
So what have you mentally pegged your opponents on this table from their play?
Well, I'm starting to realise, but it's a little late, I'm starting to realise that this is a really, really tight table and I should be getting very busy. It strikes. And one or two misreads do occur later, and I'll take a few pots. But I'm just having trouble pulling the trigger, I think. It's clear by now we've got a fairly rocky table. There's no entrepreneurs around, with a possible exception of 2-4 Ginger, who's been a bit leery.
So why do you think you are trigger unhappy?
I think because I'm weak. You don't want to go out first on the telly, do you?
Oh, I don't mind.
Oh, I don't, no.
I mean, every time I go out first, I do say it is the fourth best place to come.
Yes. No, I haven't used a slider here, is it? It's 320, which is one of those, when you click that little menu up, it's one of the standard bets that are in there for some reason.
You'll never use that either.
No, I shouldn't use that, it's just laziness. So we're in level 1020, level 3 or 4 here. I think 3, I would say, at a guess. And we're down to 8.
So you're now only 5 off the money?
Yeah. If he just bets I'll run away, I think I'll win this. Got a masterful display of passive checking.
There you go. And I think you're going to have to throw this away when Posh raises.
Oh, let's hope so. Well, there isn't any other move with ace-9 other than a steal, is there?
No, there's no move at all available to it.
It's if we don't fold here, we shall want slapping with a sort of slapping thing. I don't have a problem with a re-raise, but not if you, only if you're playing it as a move, as opposed to a hand. I think if I was in a big competition and I was on the TV table, they'd turn the TV off, wouldn't they?
You don't think this is to make the final cut?
No, it might get edited out. So we're into level 3. We haven't lost anybody yet. Nobody is seriously wounded. Oh, it's a nice flop for double top.
Could be worse.
For a dominated king.
Unfortunately, Nosby got no part of that, so double top won't be taking home a big bang.
I think my pinpoint memory says he calls here and catches something on the turn.
Wow.
Well, I got a bit right, didn't I? Oh no, I tell you who catches something on the turn. I said double top actually goes 2 pair on the end when he's already got the flush.
That's greedy, isn't it?
When he really didn't need it. But Nosby did catch a bit on the end. He's flopped the flush and he gets 2 pairs on the end.
And strangely took the pot down. Amazing, isn't it? Well, you've hovered around 2,200, just as far as I can tell, TK, for the last 20 minutes. I haven't seen you do much betting.
No, I was in a sort of comfort zone, to be honest with you. I've fallen asleep, which is... I do it a great deal. I mean, to be serious now, I play a lot of MTTs, a lot. And I almost invariably get this freezing phase in the middle. And when it gets to the last third, you know, then I find I'm in a corner and I play pretty competent poker. I can duck and dive and get me chips in and have a reasonable success rate. But if I could just play that middle section with some aggression, I seem to think, well, I have these chips, I'm going to hang on to them, instead of keeping my foot to the floor. Where you get a lot of players, decent players, proper players, you know, they just keep going all the time. And I get into a comfort zone and I'm comfortable. I think I'm okay here, I don't need to do anything. It's a bad old fault.
Well, I don't know, Tikay. I mean, you say these players who keep their foot on the floor. Sure, one of them ends up winning it, but 20 of them are doing that. 19 get knocked out. One of them gets all the chips. He goes on and wins it, and everyone says, "Oh, well, there you go. You've got to play tournaments aggressively." So, but then more than one time in 20, you'll just catch a run of genuine, legitimate cards, find yourself up against people with their feet on the floor,
yeah,
and it'll be you going through to the final with all the chips. You just done it a different way.
Well, you are what you are, and I don't think you can change what's in your nature. And now, what happens here? I think this might be the hand that I play extraordinarily bad. I'm not quite sure what to do here, and instead of... I almost throw this away. And instead of raising to see where we are, and I'm not sure I'll get rid of him, but instead of raising, I just limp.
It's not really a limp, it's a fine, I mean, it's reasonably threatening call.
Well, as it happens, you know, out of bad play comes a bit of good fortune, because if I bet out on this flop, I'm going to get looked up for sure. At the time, I rather wish I'd passed the ace-queen. Once I'd made the play, I thought, that's a bad play. I haven't found anything out. I'm out of position. What's the problem with letting it go? And I've done 20% of mistake there.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest way with it is the possibility that you're dominated all the way.
Yeah, and I haven't found out. But as it turns out, if you know proper play suggests perhaps I should have bet that flop. Well, firstly, I shouldn't have limped pre-flop, and then when I caught a 7-high flop, I should have bet, but I'm sure he doesn't go away with a pair of nines.
No, I think you're absolutely right to check the flop. It does look like a sniffy continuation bet with an ace, the way you played it before the flop. And if he's got a pocket pair, even if he's not happy about facing your bet, he's going to play it, isn't he?
Yeah. If I catch me flop, it's a good play, but I didn't, and it wasn't. I think I should have let go before the flop. Well, the ace saves ginger, or does it save double top? I don't think double top can call this.
It's a bit sticky, isn't it? On the other hand, I didn't see the pre-flop play, but limping with an ace is generally unusual under the gun, but yeah, it's a tough call with the kings there. So, well, Jack Queen good.
I think I decide to come out of my slumber here and make a still, and Phantom beats me to it.
Ah, it's a Phantom steal. Yeah, now you have to let it go. What about here? Are you stirring to...
Oh, I think I have a pop at this. Oh dear, what happened to ace jack there? Look. I think I intend to have a pot at it until he raises big, and then I think better of it.
Likewise, just before.
I don't take a lot of shoving off, do I? But that's how this king-queen, you know, you walk into some sort of ace, you're in a mess.
So, still got 8 players, and the blind's now at 4th level. Average stack size now looking a bit poorly. 2,000 is still the average, what with there being 8 players. And that's about 13 big blinds.
Sorry. I just seen an email from a jockey.
And what does the jockey say?
I'm not. I refuse to read it. It's too insulting.
Okay, I'll read it out then. Let's have a look. Great to see TK back on the telly again. My favourite TV presenter after Ainsley Harriott. Well, that's a slight, isn't it? You're only in second place to Mr. Harriott. You just made TK's day.
Is he the cook fella?
Yes.
How did you have that picture up?
Well, I thought you might want to see whether the resemblance was more than striking.
Had you already seen the email then?
Yes, I had.
Cheeky monkey. Lads is a Scottish jockey.
Is that a euphemism for a
Or he
complete...
used to be a jockey.
Ah.
Nice guy. Lives in Glasgow, I believe, which is on the left-hand side.
And how does he deal with his tax returns? They all...
Well, it's not his... I'm sure in a more proper way than Mr. Piggott used to do.
Great thing about being a poker player, of course, you don't pay tax. Hooray! At least if you're British.
If you go to Vegas and you get a win, they'll, unless you fill your forms in properly, they'll make you pay tax.
Mm. Well, Double Top has played a reasonably creative game. Reckons he can extract some implied odds from you here, TK. You must be feeling pretty slighted by that call there. Seeing it now in the cold light of day. And let's see if he's massively underestimated his
Do
opponent.
I get a wimpish here and let this go, I suppose? Oh, I bet out now. I'm going to put a bet in here.
Mm-hmm.
I decide that if I'm not behind on the flop, I'm not behind on the turn.
Yeah, no, it's him who's being wimpish.
I had to say I had him on exactly. You see the hand he's got?
Uh-huh.
I had him on exactly ace king or ace queen.
It's an amazing read.
Yep.
And that's the thing about a great player like TK is that even when he's read them completely wrong, he puts in the right size bet. Extraordinary.
I really thought this guy had some sort of ace. I thought, well, I can bet out here. You see, I won't sleep tonight after making that play with that sixes. I think there's two overcards there. That's very edgy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Don't try this at home, kids.
Nope. You could get hurt.
And the blind's now 163.20.
And all of a sudden, it's got a bit hairy.
6 big blinds per person. And surely we're going to see some casualties now.
There's still not a single person gone.
I implore you, start wreaking havoc. Well, look at that. He's got... Oh, that's not a great hand, but he hasn't got a great chip stack either. 100, 5.5 big blinds. Just about big enough to push the hand he had there. And you see Louis decides against a random hand, albeit the chip leader, he can push. Good aggression, sir. Nice bet. And you're sitting there yourself with 5.5 big blinds.
I think I make a move here. I think I misclick.
Oh yeah, did you misread your hand?
Well, yes, I did,
So it's
and
queen.
I'm going to make a proper raise, and I'll decide, well, if I make a proper raise, I can't get off it. A pot size raise would be about 1,000. Oh, I do make that as well. I don't know what I'm going to do if they come back at me, but there you go.
We'll never know.
I think I was stuck with it, wasn't I?
I think you were. So, as we can see here, the game is, as you said earlier, TK, it was pretty tight, but it's clearly moved now into the aggressive, got to win the blind stage.
Yes, we're all looking at each other now and realising that this is like one of those horse races, like a cellar. You know, none of us are good enough to win this unless we do something, and so it starts to get busy, and of course the blinds catch up.
24 Ginger, Jack 10. He may well move here. He's not got any massive stacks behind him. In fact, the second ship leader is Tikay himself in seat 1. Masquerading as Nick the Hare. Let's have a look. Yes, he does. Trying to keep it cheap, but he wouldn't be able to fold really to either Nosbig or King of Ying. Only the double top really could he just about fold against. In fact, I'm not even sure he could fold against double top given the odds he'd be facing, so I wonder if he might not have been as well to have stuck it all in and deny anyone
Is he
the
a bit
illusion that they had fold equity. Is he camp?
Ainsley Harriet.
He's camper than you, TK. I don't think that's the reason why you've been likened to him. Just you're both great TV personalities.
I think we should shop that jockey to the taxman.
Yeah, I do.
Great lump of lard.
Yeah, and a bit of a fold from Nosbig. So, still 8-handed. I did prophesy that someone would go out before the end of this
Well,
level.
you underestimate our ability to be rock-like. Sit there forever. An aggressive player would have about 8,000 chips now in this, wouldn't they?
Or they'd be out.
Yeah. I'm about to say, almost every hand somebody's had something. So, maybe a little caution is best.
I think, yeah, 24 Ginger can pay 126 to have a look at that. And, oh, he's home and dry now.
What a lovely hand that card that was.
And a commanding chip lead for 24 Ginger, but still has considerably less than half the chips at the table. So
Oh, we're down to
work yet.
7.
Yeah,
Wow.
finally lost one.
Why they go like, I think they start falling like flies now. I decided against a remove against Fenton there because I realise he can't put his hand down now.
Yeah, you would have removed yourself from table, I think.
This is definitely a misclick coming up here.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I honestly thought I had jacks here. Two red jacks.
That's big folds. Very
Well, with
surprised.
1860 and blinds at 160.
Oh, you naughty, naughty little choir boy.
And he dwells forever, this guy. Oh no, don't call. Please don't call. Or be nice forevermore or wear a vest. I'll eat my breakfast. Please, 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 please. And he gives me this amazing dwell. And I tell him I got aces and he said, oh, okay, good pass.
So,
Well, that's
Now
giving me,
you know,
that's giving me
folks.
palpitations now. I feel quite up. I feel quite...
TK will be playing a Beat the Presenter at least every other Wednesday, 5-3 suited, just remember that. Of course, he will have aces when you call. That's the trouble with TK, he'll make you fold when he's got nothing. He'll make you call when you've got aces. But just remember, 5-3 suited.
Well, of course, something very similar happens later on.
Gaza Louis effects his revenge. And ace-3 suited, 4 players, 6 big blinds. Oof. Yeah, well, I mean, suited. I'd rather play ace-3 suited in that position than ace-6 off.
Why?
Because the hands are pretty much equivalent
Yeah, they're the
when
same
they
hand. isn't
come up against each other. And you've got a little bit of equity from the suitedness.
it? Not much.
Not much, but still better than playing ace-6. Double top still in there. Surely this will take it down. Don't know what the dwell up is in aid of.
And Posh finds his hand, and Phantom finds his, and everyone else finds the muck. Gazaloo clearly should fold there, doesn't want to play that hand in that situation. And Posh has got unfortunately his kicker is a pip or two too low. Well, he could still take it with a king, or an ace of course, or, no, the deuce is making
This must be the longest Beat the Presenter in the history of Beat the Presenter. It's gone through a complete segment of the show and it's not finished yet. It's still got 6 people there.
They love you, TK. They don't want to knock you out. They don't want to be knocked out by you either. Which is why we're finding ourselves.
You're blowing smoke up my watch, aren't you?
And he can move. I would certainly push with that. Got a little bit of fold equity. Well, lets it go, but I don't know about that, because now when he puts in his still, well, the blinds have just gone up, and if he was paying attention to the blinds, which he should have been, then time to move was on the previous hand. Now he's got no fold equity at all, but he had a little bit, if not much, on that hand. If you hear us banging on about fold equity and don't know what we mean, it's a very poncy way of saying what we always used to just call he's got a chance of making his opponent fold. And what we mean is that he can turn his hand into a winner, so it's got some equity, some hypothetical value on that basis, but he can also turn it into a winner by making his opponent fold. And that's why we call it fold equity. But when you know your opponent's going to call, and typically that is because he's already got a large amount invested in the pot compared to what he's got to put in to take it to a showdown, or because he is a card-carrying nutter, then you have no fold equity.
This is horrible.
Is it? What, getting aces?
Well, I'm down to 1,300 in the small blind, so I decide I'm going to have to play this for value. So I just limp, and the poor chap catches his deuce, and I'll limp again. And
you can't be slow playing trapping aces and then saying the poor chap, TK. I mean, if you're feeling sorry for him, you raise it up like a proper straightforward Englishman. But
well, I think to be truthful, with the stack I had, I think it's right to slow play the.
He was shorter stacked than you.
Yeah, well, one of his chips. I don't want to raise it. He passes if I raise, doesn't he?
No idea you're that sort of person. I wouldn't expect a Frenchman to make that play.
I do feel a bit embarrassed about it, but
horrible.
If I raise before the flop, I lose him, don't I?
You do, yeah. He gets away. Can afford to feed his wife and kids.
Yep.
Well, apparently you've got to be an evil so-and-so to play poker, but TK's still hanging on in there. Feeling confident about your game?
I'm dominating.
TK dominating with his fingernails. No, absolutely. I think we can see from the fear in their play, the tremendous poker presence that TK exudes from seat 1. Do you think you're going to win it?
You shall see very soon. And just before we go to the break, we'll be taking an email later from Mickey T. And if it's Mickey T, I think it is. Welcome back, Mickey. Mickey's been on holiday.
Oh, yeah?
He's been away for a while. And wonderful guy. Played in the EPT at Deauville.
Oh, very nice.
Nightmare journey out there. You can't believe he had about 3 hours to drive there after a series of misadventures, but somehow he got there. Smashing guy.
Did he win it?
Yeah, no.
Oh well. At least he got there. So we'll have a look at that email from Mickey T after the break, and it's about bankroll, you say?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's often a question we get asked on Poker Night Live. But in the meantime, grab yourself a cup of tea, don't go away, come back for the final segment of Poker Night Live and the thrilling denouement to TK's tournament. Welcome back to Poker Night Live. Now, as promised, that email from Mickey T. Friend of yours, TK?
Yes. Good lad, a librarian.
Really?
No.
Oh.
But he could be, he's that sort of guy.
Okay. Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have any specific tips on building and managing a bankroll? I don't find a problem with winning tournaments or placing the money, but unfortunately I find it difficult in building and more so keeping a live bankroll. I don't seem to have the same problem with online play, as I find it easy to keep that money online and not withdraw it. Cheers. A few too many magnums of champagne maybe after the winning tournament play.
It really depends if you have any other gambling leaks, or call them what you will. But I'm exclusively poker these days. I don't play blackjack or roulette or bet on the horses or the football. And so you know, there's a poker bankroll and it's over there, and that's what it's for. The problem if you bet on all sorts of things is that it all gets mixed up. And I think he says he can manage it online because it's in like one tidy place. And I think that's what you need to do with live poker as well. I think you need to say, okay, that's my poker money and that's my living money.
Just remember, with your bankroll, you're fighting against variance anyway. You can have a bad run even if you're playing poker. But if you're shoveling some of it into the arms of the crap stealers, then of course it's going to go down Swanee. So I'm sure TK has pegged you right there. That's the difference between your online play and your offline play. Just got to take pride in that bankroll.
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm not suggesting that Mickey does have other leaks. I actually think he's a Jehovah's Witness, so he wouldn't be gambling, but it's just fair comment to say that if you do bet on other things, then you're going to get yourself in a mess.
Right, Stan's.
What's the matter with you?
No, I'm just thinking about Jehovah's Witnesses in casinos giving out copies of the Watchtower and skinning us at the poker table.
It happens, it happens. I'm a Plymouth Brethren myself.
Are you? Extraordinary things you learn on live TV. Stan says, hi guys, I need help. Well, maybe this is one for you then, TK. Fortunately, we have a spiritual leader here in the form of TK Kendall. I was a winning player for 2 years, but for the last 4 months, I cannot get a winning week, never mind month. I played solid and was making the odd bluff once my table image was set, and I tightened up in loose games and I loosened up in tight games. I folded good hands and was not afraid to represent. I continued with what was my winning style, thinking the worm will turn. It hasn't, and now I am playing bad, and I know it. I'm not reading the betting patterns. I'm making moves in the wrong position. I'm seeing no further than the cards in front of me. I know you will probably say, take a break. I did, and it ain't working. Help me.
Well, Stan doesn't tell us whether he's discussing tournaments or cash. If it's cash, you've got a serious problem here. If it's tournaments, Tom just referred to variance, and variance can be huge. And the important thing about going on a losing run in tournaments, and they can last a good while, is not to change your game, or not even to perceive that you've changed your game. You can start thinking you're playing bad just because you're not getting results. This is the mind playing tricks. But if it's in cash situations that this is happening, well, I really don't know what to suggest. I think you need to change your game, change your site, just change something, because there seems to be quite a serious problem here. You're getting yourself down and suggesting that your game has gone to pot. Well, if you think it's gone to pot, it has gone to pot. So you need to take a fresh look at yourself, I think, and say, wait a minute, let's have a little bit more confidence here. And if you could play it before, you could still play it now. It's like riding a bike, you never forget. But maybe you've got too down on yourself and you've convinced yourself you're playing bad. I'd take a fresh look, start afresh, maybe try a different site, different game, and get your confidence back.
And it's not a terribly encouraging thing to say, but do bear in mind the possibility, Stan, that when you're having your good run, although some of that may be attributable to your playing well, some of it may also have been attributable just to basically good fortune, and you were making moves when in fact your opponent had nothing. But as far as you could see at your end of it, you were playing brilliantly. So you may not have been playing as well as you thought you were. It doesn't mean you're not a winning player at all, but lots of players make the mistake of having basically a good run and attributing it all to their own play, and then having a bad run and attributing it all to bad variance. So when it's all done and dusted, hoping you get out the rut and you turn yourself back into a winning player, you'll find across both segments of play, both the up and down sides of your variance, that things are a little bit more modest.
Yeah, I think to be fair, Stan says he was a winning player for 2 years, and I think to win for 2 years you have to be pretty tidy. I think that pretty well proves the case.
Yeah, unless he sits down once a month. We don't know what your patterns were. I mean, in the end, it will come out in the wash if you can do standard deviation calculations, if you have that data. But we'll assume, Stan, that it's, as TK says, it's a moral question. Not a moral question here, a confidence question. Where did morals come from suddenly when we least need them? It's
morale, perhaps.
Morale, that is it.
That's
Thank
the
you,
word.
TK. It's a question of morale. I should have Frenchified it. And you'll be fine if you just stick with the game you know. So let's get ourselves back down to that game now.
Well, we're not still on my sit and go, are we? We'll be here all night. How many left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we're nearly in the money here. So Ginger has got the queens, and let's hope I don't make a move with my monster deuce 3. I don't think I will. I think my weakness will save me from a disaster there. And Nosbig has got the ace queen, and so a train crash is pending. Nosbig has got the cash at an ace, and we lose another. So good game, Nosbig. Well played. Unlucky. Cards didn't come for you. And Ginger gets more chips. The way Ginger's playing, he could well win this. So four-handed, double top weak, Ginger strong, Phantom and myself midfield. But remember, blinds are 320, 640, so pot size bet is about 2,000. So for 3 of the 4 players, it's a lunge situation now, I'm afraid. And the strong have just got stronger, because Ginger's up to 8,000. Double top has only has 1 move left. To be honest, the 3 of us only have 1 move left. I can't make a proper raise and get away from it, so if I move, it'll all go in. And I've got a winner here, and he gets me off this. Oh, I'm cross about this. He bets here, and I pass like a wimpy thing.
Well, you've still got a bit of fold equity if you do the betting yourself, haven't you?
Well, I know it's a good thing or a bad thing, but a very, very, very good player of my acquaintance, a pro, gave me this piece of advice, and I take it almost literally, but he always says, can you find a better situation to get your chips in? And I've got bottom pair there. The guy's bet into me, and I'm thinking, well, A, can I find a better situation? Yes, I can. And B, at this stage of a comp, I like to move first, unless I've got a monster. It doesn't matter what I move with, but I want to be the first to move, because there's an extra way of winning it then in my mind. They might all pass. You remember the television programme Howard's Way?
I never watched it. I was aware of its existence.
Yeah, well, I play Coward's Way. I think, well, if they all pass, I'm all right. I don't want to see flops. So this looks like good night to double top. Who played very well. I sense a steal coming on here with the best hand. Yep, in they go. At this stage, I don't mind a call. Though if I get called, I know I'm losing, but I could get lucky.
Ooh, you might get looked up by worse hand by a loose player. But yeah, you want to fold. King, Queen, for example.
Well, I would move with the Queen 9, but not when someone else has moved first. There's a huge difference. I mean, a lot of people don't realise there's a huge difference between acting and reacting. Well, this plays itself. This is not a problem. Ginger lied to me. Ginger said I could only beat... He couldn't beat 4 deuce. 7-3. I think Phantom calls me here, and we clench our cheeks and see if we can hold up. There's the Queen. Now I don't want another club to come now. That's it. Good night. Well played, Phantom. It's over now the fat lady's sung. And now we get to my famous heads-up play. Mm-hmm. Those that know me better know I have a reputation heads-up. I get a heads-up a lot of times. I won one once. Oh, I have to play this hand. This is one of my signature hands. I have to make a raise with this hand. This is called a full Wilson. You know, Ace 4 is like a Dr. Tom now, but this is a full Wilson after Brian Wilson.
I'm struggling to avoid the tarnishing of it.
The stigma.
Well, I'd like it to be known as the Dr. Tom in certain exceptionally rare and unusual
we're getting
situations.
defensive now.
I wouldn't mind that name. I think if anyone has seen me play Ace 4 ever previously on Poker Night Live, there might be some truth in it.
You stirred up a hornet's
But
nest.
unfortunately, of course, you know, these labels get attached to people.
Well, I think a lot of
Long
it is
after the event, no one's got any idea what happened on the table.
You was
Or
playing
indeed-
Michelle, you see, and you know, Michelle's the great favourite of the Poker Night Live.
okay, she's blonde and I'm strawberry blonde. I mean, what's the difference?
Well, they just have this thing, they prefer her, you see, so they was rooting for
Well,
her. She has a very good record in these things, doesn't
She
she?
did have a better hand going into the flop.
Aces,
Yeah.
yes. Which reflects on who? Okay, I get brave here with my Ace-6. Problem is with blinds at 640, 1280, we just have to shove in and hope now. But as is always the case when me and heads up, it's always a struggle. I'm always behind. I don't think I can do much with this. I think we was hoping for a limp here. I certainly weren't hoping to catch a flush. Well, we have to shove here, I think. Oh, we just limped. You can see why don't we many heads up. Now I know at this stage if he doesn't bet, I have to bet. I have to take this pot. But I bet if he limps, I just check. Oh! And I think, oh goodness me, he saved me his bet. Oh, he's got 7-4 now.
Do you call him if he goes all in?
Oh, in a flash. It's easy to say that now, isn't it? Just while waiting for this exciting climax to climax, just a word to say thank you for all the emails. They really do help. Thank you very much. They make the programme. We want to interact, so keep them coming. And get on them cash tables. If you want to get on the 2-4 to 5-10, even the 25-50. Get going. Well, I hope I don't move here with this 8 deuce. She heads up, if I've got that hand, queens, I might just limp.
You're not afraid they're going to read you for it? It's rather eccentric play with any stealing.
We get, this is where it gets, this is where he thinks it's a coin flip, it's a race. So I've got the overpair. And he calls me. When I say an overpair, I mean
Fives.
an underpair, but he thinks and says, no, I've got to look you up here.
Hmm.
And
I fold.
it's all over very quickly. So, we failed to win.
Oh well, second place, not to be sniffed at. You put a bit of cash into Nick the Hare's account, which is the only thing you did wrong, I think.
And it what?
The only thing you did wrong was bigging up Nick's bankroll.
Yes, he'll be very pleased for
I
that.
think you should have played brilliantly until the bubble and then got yourself knocked out deliberately.
They call me Bubble Boy for 2 reasons. One, I go out in the bubble a lot, and 2, because, well, they see me as a boy.
Oh. That's very nice. Right, we've got an MTT for you. We're going to go straight down to Panic Green.
Well, this is the climax of the 64 runner MTT that we saw earlier on. And we're down to the last 5 players. There is, I believe, 96,000 chips in play. So it's around about 19,000 is the average. The blinds are 600, 1200, so it's very, very playable. There's lots and lots of play left in this, and no doubt Jolly was more exciting than the little sit and go we just had. Bill 4343, Feckless, Super, what does that say?
Super pick.
Oh, Super Pick, yeah. Gaza, 1969. Is that when the footballer was born? Do you think that's what it means?
69?
That would make him 31, 37.
Could be, but I doubt it's Paul Gascoigne.
No, but he might be a hero worshipper, mightn't he? Well, Super Pick's picked up a nice flush there.
Now, King's going to be suspected of stealing. Might just conceivably get some resistance from the small or the big blind. Probably not for that lot, though. And I think I would have wanted to play that to my whole stack. I'd have put in a 3 times big blind raise there and hoped someone looked at my chip stack and said to themselves, well, look, he's left himself enough chips to get away from it if he's raised. He's probably not all that strong. I'll raise him. But Bill decided he wanted to, more interested in his tournament life than in getting maximum value from the pot. And that's not an unreasonable consideration in a tournament. It depends on a number of things. Size of the gap between the prizes. It depends on the likelihood of someone else getting knocked out in the near future, which of course is a function of the aggression in the table. Depends on your ability. If you think you're a strong player, then you should value your tournament life higher than if you believe yourself to be a weak player. If you're a weak player, then you're going to eventually get outplayed, so you should be looking to build the pots, not keep them small. Bill there did build the pot, but by shutting his opponents out there, he reduced the chance of.
But that's self-defeating. If you're a weak player and you've got to build the pots, then if you can build the pots, you wouldn't be a weak player, would you?
Well, you can build the pots and get knocked out.
Yes. Look at this 2 pair.
If you get all your chips in the middle and you're a weak player and you're 40% on that pot, that's a lot better than being 40% on a whole load of small pots. Because then you're certain to get knocked out.
It is, but that's why these players maybe are weak players, because we don't want to play big pots, and it's a catch-22, isn't it? That's how we end up in that situation.
I don't understand, Tikay. Say that again?
Well, we're saying if you're a weak player, then you don't want to have small pots, you want to have big pots.
You do,
but that's why
right.
they're a weak player.
Sorry?
That's why they're a weak player.
No, not necessarily. They can be a weak player for all sorts of reasons. I mean, they could just be bad at playing big pots and bad at playing small pots. But if they tend to make the wrong decision in a range of different ways, and maybe they'd be chronically bad at playing small pots.
Well, that's not a weak player, that's a bad player.
Well, I'm choosing it as the same meaning. Basically, if you're a poor player, you should build big pots in a tournament.
Yeah,
now, you may be a poor
logic.
player because you build big pots, and it may be the case that if you could calm down a bit and make smaller pots, then you would turn into a good player. But there are still lots of people out there who are going to be poor players however they play the game, because they're just bad at reading opponents, for example.
Yep.
And for those people, it does pay them to make big pots.
Well, Bill's getting in trouble now. Bill's got roughly 2 hands to make a move or
We've all
find
got
a
two hands,
hand.
TK. I mean, there's nothing special about that.
Sorry?
We've all got 2 hands.
Well, it's caught a bit of this. There you go, he's up to 6,700.
Massive 4 times or 5 times a big blind, 5 and a bit.
And a little unfortunate here that he's, or maybe fortunate, but
Yeah, he can get away from it.
can't get away from it. But I fancy he will push.
No. He's playing tight, aggressive poker. Yeah, he's saved by the fact that the ace
Well,
queens
there's two with ace queen.
are either
Goodness
side
me.
of him. He certainly would have pushed if Dazzy hadn't come in. Having said that, two players with ace queen, pair of fours isn't in terrible shape.
Yeah, but he didn't know that, did he?
No, did know the ace was coming there.
Just to go through the rest of this final, 10th place was Yeovil Survey. Picked up $9.60 for that. 9th was Executioner, $19.20. 8th was Baggy's Ace, a West Brom fan I assume, $25.50. 7th was Port Menard for $32. 6th was Gazalui, who was actually in my Beat the Presenter. Went out third, I think. And for getting 6th in that, Gazalui got $41.60. And 4th place was Billy for, oh dear, I suspect Billy 4343 is going to go out next. That's my prediction.
What a psychic reader you are, TK. Must be difficult to take you on at the poker table.
Well, that's my prediction. I think he's going to, the way he's playing, he's going to go out next.
Probably not on this one, though. He has been all in quite a lot recently. But not his fault. Short stacked, he's got to do it. Maybe I'll make a stand with this against a small blind. No, Super Pick's surely going to take this down. No one can call that.
Well, this is going to be his move. If move we want to call it. I don't see any way that he will not get all his chips in here.
No, all in, definitely the correct move.
Simply because if he mates any other sort of raise, oh, he's limped. Oh, perfect.
Very fortunate indeed.
Yeah, I have to say that's a bit uncomfortable with that play. I really feel that moving in was the right thing to do here.
And still was, because if he'd moved all in, he might well have got called, and his opponent wouldn't get away from it on the flop. Oh, this is a dream for him. Fatness is betting into him. Now he must go all in. He's got...
Oh dear, if a jack or 10 comes here, he's going to shoot himself.
Don't slow play a hand when your opponent's got no chips, or you've got no chips. He deserves it,
goodness.
TK, unfortunately.
Well, I don't think we can say deserves it, but
He played that appallingly on the turn.
I think he needs to realise that in that situation,
His opponent just couldn't give him value. You can't slow play when you've got no chips to cream it off the guy.
it wasn't so much a slow play as it was sort of a dead stop, wasn't it? It was the world record for see how slow I can play it.
Yeah, he was going backwards.
But if he doesn't catch the two pair, he looks a hero. But I think in that spot, I would have just shoved my chips in.
Yeah, madness. Madness.
But I think that's one of those hands that you never forget. Digitally, you never do that again.
No.
It's come runner. He's been a little unlucky in the end, but the poker gods and fates have been tempted. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and the irony is that only 5 minutes before, he stuck it all within the kings when he had about 9 big blinds under the gun. And I was saying, he obviously values his tournament life more than getting full payoff from a pot and risking being outdrawn, and he did it the other way around there.
Yes,
He was wrong to do it.
an interesting play. Anyhow, he's done very well to get 4th of 64, and for his $10 stake, went home with $60.80. So when all said and done, got to be happy.
And well done you, TK, for correctly forecasting it was going to be him to be knocked out.
Well, there you go. There you go. In fact, I said 40 was fifth, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't get 60-80, he got 51-20. We're down to 4 now, and they are all over much of a muchness in chip stack wise. The average is 24,000, which is 20 big blinds. So still very playable. That is a nice flop. Who thinks they're winning here? If Gaza was to catch his king, that would be very interesting. While we're watching this, a very, very nice email for you. I'll let you answer this one because I have a strong view on it, but it's from Red Dog, who says, I've just started to make a tentative foray into online cash games on a regular basis. A big part of my online game involves watching what other players do, trying to spot the gamblers and loose players who are likely to pay me off. I want to know if they're prone to flat calling, trapping, coming over the top. In short, I want to know how they play. I want to spot the mug, as I would suppose do most other players. This being the case, how much, if any, value do you think there is to multi-tabling? What do you think the difference is in playing one table at 3-6 instead of 3 at 1-2, apart from the fact that if you play one table, you don't miss any of the action?
Goodbye, Dazzy. I just say there, unfortunately there, Jack's run into queens. Not much you can do about that at this stage in the tournament. It's difficult to know. I mean, the points he makes are perfectly valid there, TK. As he says, if you multi-table, oof, look at this, trip twos, set of twos for Gaza. If you multi-table, then you always get less information than you do if you do a single table. There is always more than enough information at the poker table for you to probably be missing some of it, even in an online game. So you certainly do get that extra bit of information if you're concentrating on one table. But then, of course, if you multi-table, then as you correctly point out, you can play at lower stakes and still be wagering the same amount of money across a given period of time. And of course, you do crucially suffer much less variance if you play 3, 1, 2 tables.
I think if you're really want to do well, I think you should single.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal view. There's a weird thing here, is if you're playing live, you can sit for 10 hours with no hands, and it can still be fun. You can still enjoy it. Well, you know, a bit of adversity is a good thing. You can sit there and enjoy yourself the entire evening, but if you're playing one table online, for me, it's very easy to get bored.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start messing around, we start surfing and not concentrating. And so that's why some people play 2 or 3 tables, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you want to be pure about this, personally, although I'm a multi-tabler myself, I think you should, if a lot of money was up for grabs, if it really mattered to you to do well, I think you'd say, I will play one table to the best of my ability, and while I'm doing that, I can't do other things.
Yeah.
If you was down to your last $500, $50, 5,000, whatever it is, and your poker life depended on it, I think you say, no, I will get one table, I will spot, I'll take the reads, I will look for the tells, I'll see who's doing what, I will really concentrate.
Yeah, that's sound advice. I think basically, Red Dog, if you're capable in terms of patience of playing just one table online without surfing the net or multi-tabling, then it's a good discipline, and you may well find you can actually make more money. Because at 3-6 no limit hold'em, you're not going to have, most of them are not going to be mugs. You know, there's going to be a few live ones, and you will need your reading skills to be reasonably well honed, really, just to even beat the rake on that table. So unless you're an experienced multi-tabler, then you probably do want to be concentrating just on that table. And of course, it's a great discipline. And the other thing about multi-tabling is that your poker doesn't grow. I mean, you may conceivably make more money multi-tabling at low stakes than adding it all together and playing it on one table, but your poker doesn't improve because you're basically playing textbook poker most of the time, and you're not playing subtle poker, subtle representational poker. So your game gets a bit drab.
You said there you're blah, 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 you'll be lucky if you beat the rake.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a rule of thumb for how you can measure rake? I mean, rake's one of those things, you don't see it, do you?
No, it's out the corner of your eye.
It's out the corner. You don't quite see what you're paying, and when you stop and add it up, it's a lot. Is there some rule of thumb where you can say I need to win X to cover my rake? Is there any sort of way of measuring that?
No, but ideally, if you're an online poker player, you should get yourself a rake back bonus, and you'll be told how much rake back you've
event,
got.
isn't it?
Yeah, but then you know how much rake you've paid in over a course of a month or a given period of hands.
Well, I don't think you should be encouraging people to get rake back. What about those poor people that own the card room? How are they going to earn a living?
Oh, I don't know, some other form of organised crime?
You have great sympathy with them, do you? Good question, Tom. Thank you very much.
It's the extraordinary wonderful resource they provide. So, but beating the rake is tough.
Who's Jamie Oliver?
Make no mistake that there are now vastly more professional poker players because of online poker than there have ever been before. I mean, it's just hugely opened up the value and the availability of poker. So I don't begrudge them their punch. Jamie Oliver is a cook, a celebrity cook. Is he?
I've been compared to him as well now.
I think someone's been smoking something funny if they're comparing you to Jamie Oliver.
I must the previous emailer. I am shocked he has likened you with Ainsley Harriott. I mean, what person considers Ainsley Harriott to be better than Jamie Oliver? Honestly. You're still second best to him in my eyes, though, with love. That's from Rookie. He's rubbish. Oh no, that's in the belly.
Super pick.
Once again, guys, thank you for your emails.
Takes it down with a large overbet. Now, he's got a genuine stealing hand and he limps. Ooh. Well, might have action here. Middle pair versus a flush draw. And Feckless is probably thinking, well, if you had a king, surely you'd have raised on the button. Super pick now, a long way ahead. He's got the overpair to Feckless.
That's the way to do it. Get your chips in.
And bets it. Well, he's still got a draw if he is behind.
I think at this stage on that flop, I think with his flush draw, I'm inclined to take a chance and say, let's go for it. Come on, call me, mister. I'm moving in. You get called by a better hand, you've still got lots of ways of winning it. So 3 left, they've all got a chance.
What about the people who've been knocked out?
Well, kept those 64, those 61 are toast, I'm afraid, but these 3 have got a chance. You're a bit of a stud poker player, or draw poker is it that you play?
No, neither. For money, just for fun.
Oh, just for fun? Is that like playing limit poker for fun?
No, I've got a few limit sort of plans, but yeah, recreation already. I think when I'm about 70, I might stop playing no limit and play limit.
70? I can't imagine anybody being 70. I played draw poker, I think, once for cash. I went to Martin the Nift's Club in Stockholm, and somehow this bunch of Scandies roped me into a game of draw poker, and why don't I see these things coming?
They fleece you?
No. Well, yeah, they did. I think I lost 17,000 kroner or something, which is it's about 8 bob, but it was enough.
price of a beer.
I have to say the Scandinavian guys, you know, have this reputation of being leery and all this. They have a lovely attitude at the table. You know, they take their beats well, they play it in good spirit. When you go out to Sweden or Norway and they play tournaments and you get busted, they clap. And they don't clap in irony, they don't clap to take the mick, and they don't clap for any other reason. That, you know, it's as you clap when someone gets, a batsman gets bowled or whatever. They just, you know, play on a nice spirit. And we ended up in a cash game in the middle of Stockholm one night, and it was one of these cash games. Who could win with the worst hand? You know, you had to show 7 deuce on an ace king flop or something, and tremendous lads. When they come over to the UK, they're always very, very welcome.
What do you mean? They win all our money?
I met one in Bolton on Sunday night in a cash game. I got the impression he didn't have a Bolton accent, and I said, well, where did you come from, mate? He said, Stockholm. And I said, that's Stockholm in Norway, and he said, no, it's in Sweden. He got a bit cross. And I gave him the normal line about being owned by Norway, and he got a crosser. And then he started dancing with his silly hands.
Well, that's terrific. So they're wonderful, honest people, and you give them the rub down when they come to Britain and take their chips.
Well, we called him Linkoping. Well, everybody at the table got a nickname. It was one of those sort of games. He got christened by Chubby Noab, who was the world heads-up runner-up last year. He got christened Linkoping. And there was another nice gentleman there who was quite a good-looking guy, looked a bit like Rocky. He called him Soft Lad. Come on, Soft Lad, you're going to raise me.
Gaza finds a hand. Oh, feckless. Poor timing there. Makes a move with nothing. It's really quite useful to have outs when you bluff. So he's out, and we're heads up. Gaza quite patient there. Had the chip lead going into the three-handed situation. Now increased it. And super pick. Plenty of room to make decisions.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Now, the blinds are 800, 1600, and the low stack has 28,000. So he has 15 big blinds. More, 16 big blinds. Plenty of time to play. He's got a raise, a re-raise, and a re-re-raise in him. And, you know, one thing that really, it doesn't irritate me, but I can't help but scratch my head when I see it, is at this stage a lot of guys want to keep pushing all in. And what you do is not giving yourself any margin for error, you're not giving yourself any getting away room. And if you've got your hand, put a proper raise in, and if someone comes over the top, well, take it if you think you've got the best hand, but if you push all in, it's a move that, as many people say, it works every time, except the last time. But these guys know what they're doing, playing properly. First prize here is $192, and the runner-up will get 128, and glory and bragging rights for both of them.
Gaz a chance in his arm. Big call from Super Pick. He's now, is he out of position or does he have counter position? Depends on how you look at it. But he's caught middle pair. And, well, that worked out very nicely for him. Fortunately, Gaza had no hand and caught no part of his no hand. And that's quite an important pot there. Super Pick's picked up 7,000 chips.
This Ainsley Harriet stuff's getting a bit much. Somebody's just come on the forward and asked me if I'll make them an omelette.
That's just cheeky.
That is, I know how to do an omelette though.
Aye. Well, this could be it.
Well, 2 overs. Yes, all the chips have gone in.
Yeah, that is it.
2 pair.
What a strange ending.
Well, it was a strange evening after they played very, very strange poker for a long time. The guy with the ace-6, it's a no-brainer for him. I suppose with ace-10 on an ace-high turn, you're entitled to think you're winning, but I think there could be better spots, but congratulations to them both. Good performance. And that's our MTT. And now we're going to watch some cash, I think.
I think so. We've been bigging up the cash games. We've seen some interesting plays earlier, so let's get back down to that cash game. There it is, the 1-2. Still hammering it out. Johan Haran and Nick and One. We saw them
I've
earlier.
got Joko. He's got $600.
Yeah, he's doing all right, isn't he?
Yeah.
Wonder whose it is.
You're not going to win this, though. I think they're all drawing dead. Oh, no, the I'm Not a Minger has got plenty of ways out.
Has he?
Well, about 7, I think.
I think so. He's up against a house, TK.
I can't see that from here. The board is 4, 9, 3. Oh, that's another 4, yeah. That screen needs to be bigger.
We'll get you a virtual reality helmet.
So Yoko's must have had, or is it Joko 2K?
I don't know.
Well, he's had a good night. If he takes off with this hand, he might get a bit of a black eye. He's got Jack Queen suited, King Queen suited. But it's all the dangerous cards. Name Exists has got in first with the aces. Probably get looked up by the Firebird. I'd certainly call this.
It's looking strangely familiar, this hand, actually, TK. I wonder if history might be repeating itself. Let's have a look.
And
It's caught the Queen.
It's come Queen
Yeah, it's
high.
extremely familiar, this hand. We've seen this before.
Well, I was probably busy winning my beat the presenter at the time.
You were. I must point out, TK, that you didn't win it, but you may have been winning at that time.
When I go home to see the cat and the cat asks how I got on,
Oh.
I shall tell him that I won it. And he's watching this,
Okay.
so please don't destroy the illusion.
Well, we're seeing a little reprisal here of one we baked earlier. And Name Exists can raise. Because he's got the best hand. And it's not a particularly scary board. And he's giving it the big old dwell up. There is the raise. And there is the call. And I can't remember this hand. But it might come back to me. Ace, Queen suited is going to bet, and I think they're all going to fold.
Just before this last batch of emails, congratulations to Claire Smith, who beat a good field of men at Bolton last week for the plate tournament, which was those that got knocked out in the first day of the short-handed tournament. I think 80 runners. She beat them fair and square. Won a tidy sum of money, £9,000, I think. Second tournament victory in about a month. She won a tournament at Southampton over the bank holiday. One for the girls. Remember, if you like live poker, there's a nice tournament at Brighton this weekend at the Rendezvous.
Well, well done. That's a pleasure to hear that. One of the great things about development of poker is that more women are arriving. Well, we've got a bit of an email here, TK. Should we have a look at it?
Yep.
Hi, Dr. Tom and TK. Says 24 Ginger, your nemesis, I believe, in the sit and go. Took you out.
Oh, yes.
He's forgotten already. You don't bear a grudge, do you?
I do. This is the winner, isn't it?
It's the winner, the evil
Fine
winner.
player. Fine player.
Jack 10 he called you with. Yes, you are right, Dr. Tom, that I play the $2, $5 sit and go tables, but after finishing the money 7 out of the last 8 games I've played, I fancied a treat. You asked me to email in about my 8 deuce off versus double tops 8-9 suited diamonds. That's right, I was
Interested to, you said you loved the play, TK. I was interested to know whether he was betting for value or he was bluffing, and I dared him to pretend he was bluffing. It was a bluff, okay, from the turn onwards, because a weak raised double top put on the flop. With top pair, I took a stab at it with a pot-sized bet. Double top just doubled it. To me, it looked like he was semi-bluffing, so I called. I must just point out there that if you think someone's semi-bluffing, you really want to raise them. 24 ginger, as far as I'm concerned. He says, the turn came, it was an overcard, making a possible flush draw. So again, I took a stab at it with a pot-sized bet, and double top just called. Here I put him on one or two hands, top pair with a weakish kicker, or a flush draw. We now know he had both. The river was an undercard to my pair and didn't help with any flush draws. I decided on two options, check, and if double top bets into me, I'll fold, or bet about 3/4 of the pot as I've shown strength on the flop and river, and try to take the pot away there and then, and hope double top does not read it as a bluff. If he re-raised me, then I'd have to have folded. I'm so glad he folded. From there on until the later stages, I decided to play tight until the blinds hit a level that people are forced into pots. I was lucky to get some great cards at this time. Then I end up heads up with TK, who played a great game. A shame it had to end on a coin flip. Catch you later. Interesting there. And yet, all the way through, if he thinks he's ahead, thinks his opponent's semi-bluffing, then surely you've got to raise with your hand, not cool with it.
Well, I bow to your understanding of the strategy here.
Don't do that, TK. Just
I do think the guy's played it quite well myself.
He's certainly got a very, very good result, and the bet on the end was inspired.
Well, I say a guy, it might be a girl, but the person.
I don't think so, but yeah.
How do you know that?
It's a guy.
How do you know that?
That it's a guy?
Yes.
Because if it was a girl, she'd have told us.
That's a strange piece of logic.
Well, I think it's perfectly reasonable logic. I mean, if I referred to you constantly as a girl, you say, no, I'm a bloke, Tom.
Yeah, I might. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would.
Well, Ginger, I have to say that I'm loath to quarrel with Dr. Tom.
No, quarrel with me, please. Put me down.
But I do think that you played that rather well. If you're gonna, we can't make up our mind whether you think you're bluffing or whether you think they've got the best hand. But it doesn't matter if you're gonna bet the flop and the turn, and you stop on the river, you're gonna get it took away from you. And you're absolutely right in the analysis you make at the end, which is that if you don't bet, he does. Now you have to let go. So you've invested quite a lot in this pot. You say, I've bet the flop, I've bet the turn, I better bet again. And if he comes back over the top, well, I'm gone. But he doesn't, he lets go, and I think it was a great play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to give you the benefit of the doubt, 24 ginger. I mean, as TK said there, in fact, you took the pot down, the sizable pot, the only way you could have taken it down with a bluff on the end. So, fair dues, I believe you, and an absolutely inspired bluff, because with some sort of hand there, of course, it would have been very tempting and comforting just to check it and hope that your opponent was on a missed draw. But he wasn't, and you took it down, so congratulations.
And a very fine player, in my opinion. I thought world-class in that.
I mean,
beat the presenter.
He beat you, TK. I mean, you're not going to say he's a muppet, are you?
No.
No. So the only player there who could possibly be beaten TK. And a big call on the end with the Jack-10. Come on, be honest, TK. You thought it was a bit loose, didn't you?
Well, I've never won a heads-up match, so I don't know. I was sure I would get beaten anyway, so I was happy with that. Had a great time.
Modest to the end. Well, thanks a lot for watching, folks. It's been a pleasure, as always, and we have appreciated your emails, so keep them coming. But now, from me and TK, it's good night.